Ladies and gentlemen, Diamond Podcasting Productions presents The Shoot, a pro wrestling podcast, with your hosts, Dan Burke and Drew McKenzie.
We are back once again here on the show, here on YouTube. I am your host, Daniel Burke, and I am joined again by my co-host again, Mack. How are you this evening?
Man, we had a packed show tonight. That's all I know. That is, I think, the only thing I know right this second.
Everything
other
right
than my
now,
name.
Yes, it is a ridiculous lot of happenings that have gone on this past week in the world of professional wrestling, including a video game release, a retirement of one of the biggest icons in the history of the industry. He might get called out a little bit tonight, but probably not too much. It should be in celebration. Another Hall of Fame, two Hall of Fame inductions actually this week. One was announced actually this morning, or I believe yesterday.
Yesterday morning, yeah.
Yeah, so we've had two announcements this week already for the Hall of Fame, possibly a third tomorrow, we don't know. And of course, we will continue the long road to WrestleMania as we are closing in on 4 weeks away coming up this weekend. And we expect a rebuttal coming up this week tomorrow because we record on Thursday. But this is also released on Friday or Saturday, weather permitting. And we don't know what The Rock's answer or response is going to be to what happened on Monday. A lot of happenings that happened on Monday. And I have started playing the video game of WWE 2K24, which has been a hell of a ride, let me tell you. I haven't really dived too much into the legacy or showcase mode 40 years of WrestleMania yet. I am now through WrestleMania 10. I just finished that up with Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon, the ladder match. Mack owns it. He has not played it. And tonight, I believe he is going to get a chance to play it live react here on the program of perhaps the best wrestling game in close to a decade. As I was conversating with some friends this week, they were extremely impressed and feel like that this might be in the territory of like a Here Comes the Pain or a No Mercy or a WWE 2K14. It is yet to be seen. IGN did give it an 8. If that counts for something these days. It's like, does anybody really go to IGN for that anymore? I mean, I guess some people do, but I don't know many that still do. It's one of those. It's one of those things. It's like,
I feel like if it pops up in your feed, that's when you.
Yeah,
you see it.
Exactly.
But other than that, you're not going out actively looking for IGN.
You're not going to the website.
Right.
If somebody shares it on Facebook, you're just like, oh, that's great.
Exactly.
Or if somebody or if you all of a sudden it just gets pushed out through the algorithm and you watch it, you're just like, oh, okay.
Yep.
But again, it has gotten critically reviewed, highly well. I've seen the customer fan base, but of course, I still hear the customer fan base for the last couple of years that has just bitched and moaned from day one, no matter what. So it's kind of hard to appease everybody. And it has been a game that has been under the microscope, especially since the dog shit release of 2K20.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that one, because I actually did see that comparison this week. I think it was maybe yesterday. I saw the 2020 reference to this game, and I was just like, that's not what I'm hearing at all. I'm hearing the
No.
complete opposite in most circles that I kind of look into, whether it be your plug, which you can do later, whether it be other outlets. I hear pretty good things. I hear some glitches here and there, but they're not like game breaking or anything like that.
No, not like years past. No.
Right. And that's the big thing that you want to hear. But I to your point, like universally I've heard good things. So I'm pretty excited to get into it.
For people that I associate with it to get it every year or annually or at least dabble into it, I've heard them and people's opinions that I kind of respect because they know wrestling and they also know video games. So it's like I can at least give them some bit of ilk and say, okay, because you know some things on that. All right, I trust your opinion. And anybody, but it's not somebody that'll come to me and tell me that Fight Forever was a better game. No one's going to tell me that. It's funny that the the greatest wrestling game of all time came out within the same year period that they came out with their release, but it's not them. It's like it's because Fight Forever came out and got a 6, and then this game comes out and got an 8, and it's that's a considerable difference in the gaming industry.
Yeah, I'd say so.
It is a considerable difference, and that because the 6 is okay. Maybe I'll get it when it hits 40% off, or half off, or 60% off. But I don't know if I'm going to pay the full 70. And if you dump as much money too as what has been reported as how much was dumped into it, you start to wonder what is the break-even point, or is there even one that you're going to be able to do that?
I don't know. We could maybe get Kurt Schilling on to figure that one out.
That damn 38 Studios cost so much money to the taxpayers of Rhode Island.
It's funny that we have that conversation right now because I actually do know somebody that interviewed to be like a writer for them.
Oh god!
And I basically had to tell him like that's not a good idea, bro.
I wouldn't if I were you.
Yeah, he didn't. He ended it. I think it was around the time they had already kind of gotten the release out, and I think that's when he applied. So yeah, needless to say, he didn't get the job, but it wasn't for lack of talent. It was for the lack of funds, obviously.
The sad thing with the whole Kurt Schilling situation is the fact that you want to like him because of what he was able to do to get you something that you never thought you expected to ever see in your lifetime, let alone not one, but fucking 2 he was a part of. And especially that 04 team, because pretty much he was walking on water at certain points. But wow, what a fall from grace. Not just that, but just other things that have happened.
Yeah.
And it's funny with the gaming industry that we were also touching on is the fact of that I saw posts about the Fallout series that's coming out by Amazon, which is being released at some point in April. I forget the exact date. I think it's the 13th.
The 13th or the 11th. I don't remember which.
Okay.
But around that week, yeah. It's the whole series they're releasing too, not just one episode.
Yeah, which I mean, which I think is the definite model that I think that most people should go. The weekly release thing, I think, is just it's over. Like people don't want to do this week to week thing anymore. The numbers trend better when people can binge it, and I think that this is going to be one of those series that you're going to be wanting to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. It is the 11th, by the way. I just looked.
Okay, so it is the 11th. My concern for this property and the way that they're doing this is the fact that is it going to fall in line with The Last of Us? Is it going to fall in line with The Witcher? Or is it going to fall in line with Halo? Like, were you
So hold on, let me cut you off for a second. I think that's a good kind of question, like hypothetical question, right? However, directed by one of the Nolans, not Christopher Nolan, his brother. I forget his name already. Sorry, but
same
he,
production company though?
I'm trying to look, and it's not really giving me much info. Hold on, let me like wiki it or something real quick. But that Nolan brother also worked on Westworld for HBO. However, obviously Westworld was not that much better by the end because they got canceled. I believe what would have been their second to last season, they would have done one more most likely. Fallout TV series.
That's the
There's it.
problem with most of these shows, and it's just. But then you look at Breaking Bad, like Better Call Saul. They never had a drop off. But there
Right.
has always has been these shows, Game of Thrones, True Blood. Some could argue The Sopranos. I think there were more missed episodes with The Sopranos, but I wouldn't say that there were missed seasons. I think there were some episodes in each season that I was just like, eh.
I would agree with that.
But
So I don't see the production company listed here. I do see some of the executive producers and developed by. So it's not necessarily directed by him. However, developed by Lisa Joy and Jonathan Nolan.
okay,
Again, they have done Westworld together. Westworld did kind of had that downturn, especially the later seasons where
dystopian future.
I'm not even going to go into that, but it was a very, very good series in the first probably season, if not two seasons.
Right.
And then that's kind of where it started to kind of twist and turn a little bit too much. Executive producers James Altman, Todd Howard, Lisa Joy, Jonathan Nolan, Geneva Robertson Doer, Graham Wagner, and Athena Wickham. I don't see individual directors, so they probably have multiple directors throughout the series, is my guess. Kind of like other shows have done.
Would would you say with Amazon they have probably the best lineup of original programming as far as any of the independent like
I think that's real tough.
yeah, because it's just Netflix. Yeah, you get there's some solid cases for Netflix, but I
Right.
also feel like Netflix is also there's been a bit of a drop off. It wasn't like it was 10 or 15 years ago where I felt like they had everything. I
Well,
mean,
10, 15 years ago, you didn't have, like, Paramount Plus. You didn't
no,
have HBO Max or
no,
whatever the hell you want to call it now. You didn't have a lot of these competitors, and Disney's another one too, where you didn't have all of that. Netflix used to be like your one-stop shop for like binge watching old stuff or watching some of the new stuff. They don't really have that lock on it anymore. You could make the argument for some of the shows, which is I know where your argument was going to, but even that, like you said, that there's like that drop off. Like it's just it's weird to think about it because you have like shows. Just thinking about like cooking for a second. On regular TV, you have like Hell's Kitchen with Gordon Ramsay.
right.
You have Iron Chef with him and Graham and we're gonna get Joe, whatever his last name is, Graham Elliott, Joe something. He's a restaurateur as well. Whereas the biggest cooking slash baking show on Netflix has probably nailed it, and
Right.
it's because it's humorous. But when you look at it from another perspective of saying like, okay, look at shows. You have Stranger Things. You have The Witcher, which some argue is kind of on that downturn too, especially now that Henry Cavill is leaving. So it's kind of hard to say. But I think in terms of kind of where your question was going, I don't know if it's that they have the money or their production is just different, but it seems like Netflix is still good for some shows. But when it comes to shows that are willing to bend and break on a certain budget, that's where Amazon kind of seems to be coming into play. Because you look at that Lord of the Rings show, I don't remember the name of it, whatever. You look at
Well.
this show, there's yeah, no, I know it's not your thing, but still, like that's
No,
that's
what
a
I
lot.
was saying about I heard a lot of, I heard a lot of bad reviews on that Lord of the Rings series, like a lot.
It was
Like,
okay.
A lot of long-term people were pissed off about that.
Doesn't
A
surprise me.
lot of long-term people just didn't like it. They just didn't even try it because they were just like, I know it's going to be shit. I could just tell. And but there were a lot of people that were upset by that. But I look at like The Boys, which
Boys is a good one. Yeah,
fucking amazing. Especially Cody Rhodes. I mean Homelander. Sorry.
well, Homelander's the character.
I know, but I was just saying that Cody Rhodes. I mean,
Oh,
Homelander. sorry, been a Homelander. Because it you look at that, and then does Billy Bob still have that show on there? Goliath. Goliath is pretty good.
You know what? Let's just. A good thing I do this on the computer because Amazon Prime original series.
Let's see who's got the best stuff.
Yeah, seriously. All right, so we'll just do like the 10 most popular is one of the Google searches that pops up. So Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which is a new show this year, based on the movie. Has Been Hotel, never heard of it. Reacher. Invincible, yeah, like this isn't like the best one. Let's see.
Invincible, I've heard of. Yeah, it's like animated.
Jack Ryan, Good Omens, those are on there. See, like this, yeah, like it's kind of hard sometimes because when you do lists like this, it's like top rated and it's like shows from like years ago that, like I said before, used to be on Netflix, but now they're on their, other streaming services. Let's see. Yeah, okay, here we go. Wikipedia. Of course, that's where it's going to take me. Wheel of Time. That was a good one. Apparently, there's two seasons, which I didn't even know the second season was out already. Reacher, like I said. The Terminalist. The Rings of Power. That was the Lord of the Rings show. I couldn't remember the name of it.
Oh, God. The Rings of Power.
Yep.
Jesus.
The Rig. Swarm. The Power.
The Power.
Yeah. The Baxters is another show coming this year. It's going to come later this month. So yeah, okay, so it's broken down into categories. Class of '07 is a comedy. Mr. and Mrs. Smith apparently is a spy comedy. Harlem, that's apparently a comedy. Let's see. There's like other non-English speaking ones. Okay.
Well, you gotta.
No, it's just weird that they have them where they have them. Yeah, no, that's not my issue. It's just weird how they have the listing here. Then they have docuseries. Coach Prime. It just sounds like weird frickin' Transformers thing or something.
Oh, I think that's that it's probably something about with Deion Sanders with Colorado.
Probably.
Yeah, Coach Prime.
There's a reality competition show, which ironically enough is called 007 Road to a Million. Okay.
I bet you anything Henry Cavill is probably going to be the next James Bond.
I've heard similar things. All right, so dramas, here's a couple. Zorro, which I didn't know they had remade, but it's in Spanish.
Well, I mean, the thing about it is, who else can they get as James Bond at this point? Who else can you get?
I'm not going there. No. Not going there. Because it's just, there's so many people, I feel like. There's probably people on the list that you wouldn't even think about. Like, I know, like, racial differences aside, a lot of people throw Idris Elba out there.
No, I feel like he should be in the running for it.
He absolutely should be, yeah.
Like, if you're putting names in a hat, yeah, he should be in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this list sucks. Anyways, so I guess we're talking about 007s now. Some people put Tom Hardy out there. Um,
I don't know.
yeah, I don't either. I think it's got. I think it's okay.
He's got enough fucking franchises. He's fucking Mad Max. He's Bane. He's Venom.
Yeah.
Jesus, let somebody else get a shot in there, will you?
Jesus Christ. Other people put out. Oh, what the hell is that guy's name? Why am I blanking on this dude's name right now? I forget who and what he was in because I just totally lost it in my mind because I was too focused on Tom Hardy for a second. There's just other British actors that I feel like could play the role, and you know, if it comes down to it, doesn't have to be British. It's just that's where the nature of that has gone to be a British actor, and I think there are some decent ones out there, but those would probably be the top three that I could think of off the top of my head. Like you could maybe make the argument for Fassbender, but he's more like Scottish German than he is anything else, and plus he's kind of a little bit older now, where some of these other guys are a little bit younger. Um, I don't know about Christian Bale. I feel like Christian Bale's kind of at that age where same with Fassbender, where it's like I don't know if that makes sense, but I just the thing is with Cavill's weird because I didn't expect him to be a good Geralt the Witcher in the Witcher series, but he was phenomenal. He definitely sold that. So I don't know if in doing that he would solidify a role
Superman.
like that. He was a good Superman.
He's a really good Superman.
Just like those script sucks, but
that's false.
Oh, I didn't say it was. I said the script sucked.
No, I know. I did you see the Snyder cut of the Justice League?
Yes.
Okay. Can you admit it's a better that you wish that was the original release? Because it's like that I felt like was compelling enough where that could have been, it could have saved everything, I think, in a nice little bow. But the problem is that it's like this is a 4-hour movie.
So
that's ultimately what the problem is. This is a 4-hour movie.
Here's what I tell you. To answer your question first, and then I'll dive very quickly, hopefully, into that. Yeah, it's too long. I will agree with that. However, yes, I also feel that it was the superior film. The problem, I would say, isn't even the script to either film, number one, but number two, the reason I say that is quite simply the fact that Marvel did it right. They built these characters up over multiple movies before they did the team up. You had what? Batman versus Superman? And that was it? More or less, if you think about it?
Yep.
So, okay, three of the characters in this movie have teamed up prior, and then Superman dies in that movie. But hey, here's the Flash and Cyborg and aliens are attacking and like what the fuck? At least the Avengers, they built them up over multiple movies, like I said. That makes more sense than just alright, here's one movie, and then here's another movie with like 5 more characters that you have no idea why they came about. It was just weird.
Fucking Batman and Batman versus Superman. I need to kill Superman. Justice League. I need to bring Superman back from the dead. It's like, what the fuck? Where have we gone?
Batman.
Where have we gone?
Batman. Why didn't you kill Superman? His mom's name was Martha. Like, oh man!
He fucking had him.
He
had him.
All the plot devices you could use for a reason that Batman would turn it around and not want to kill Superman anymore is because his name was the same as his mom's. What the fuck?
And I have to say it, and I think, and we probably could both agree. You might disagree, but Ben Affleck was a very good Batman and a very good Bruce Wayne.
So, here's the thing, and obviously Affleck is a different age that this would have happened, but I almost wish that instead of guys like Val Kilmer, like George Clooney, Ben Affleck would have fit as Batman in those movies.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know, transition from Michael Keaton, who I wish stayed, but whatever, to instead from Michael Keaton to Ben Affleck, which again doesn't work out time wise because they are very different ages, would have been a very perfect segue. Because I feel that the people that didn't like Affleck as Bruce Wayne or as Batman are just a little bit crazy. Like, I'm sorry. He was so underrated in that role. So underrated.
Yeah.
And I know, again, like, you mentioned it with Cavill, and my argument's there, but I'll say it for Ben Affleck, too. It wasn't his fault. No,
Yeah.
it wasn't.
He, because I think that did a number on him mentally because he was worried. He's just like, if I fuck up on this, they're never going to let me live it down. And I think he was concerned when it was getting negative reviews, but then I think people were smart enough to be like, first of all, it's not Ben Affleck's fault. Let's get that out of the way. Out of everything wrong with this film, Ben, it's not your fault. We're putting that right now. We're all Robin Williams and fucking Goodwill Hunting with Matt Damon.
Yeah.
Just hugging him. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It was not your fault. What happened?
Dude,
right,
I would
Ben.
even make the argument that Daredevil wasn't his fault either.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, we had to go there.
We're miracle workers, but we're not going that far.
I just, it was,
My God.
I don't think anybody could have saved that film is kind of what I'm getting at.
I mean, I still remember a buddy of mine, the day after he saw that, he was just like, that's one of the best goddamn comic book movies I've ever seen in my life. And I said, you're going to live to regret that. I said, for some reason, I'm just like, someone is just going to remember that, keep reminding you that every single time you say anything about movie-wise, boo-rah. So I think...
Wait a minute. That was him?
Yeah, that was him.
Why are we still friends with him? Dude, I love you to death. You know who you are. But what the fuck? Just...
He learned his ways. But it was still...
God.
It always made me laugh. It still makes me laugh sometimes to think about, like, it's just like, oh, he thought that was good at one point. I remember. He was trying to sell me on it. Because to me, it was just like a ripoff of Spider-Man, except done a lot worse. Like, that's the way I look at that movie. It's like, Spider-Man, the original in 2002, was so well done. And then they were just like, we're just going to do this, except worse. Okay. And they did.
I remember the, like, sonar part, like, how he could see and stuff, and I'm like, oh my God. But the thing that I think of in that movie, just every time, is Jennifer Garner trying to swing those sides around near the end of the movie, and her just looking so ridiculously cheesy while doing it. And I'm like, this is just awful. Just fucking awful. And it's funny watching it now. I shouldn't say watching it as in the movie, but watching like these other actors play Daredevil, and it's just still like, oh, all I can think of is Ben Affleck in that stupid ass outfit. And I just can't take the character seriously anymore. Not that I really did to begin with.
In that movie too.
Oh my God!
I think he had the frosted tips. I was just like, oh my God, this is the douchiest movie already. Oh God, it's so bad. And that was also when Affleck hate was just really starting to become boil.
Oh yeah,
like it was really starting to hit like its fever pitch starting around that time. I feel bad because you know what? He actually's turned into a hell of a director. He's made some great films.
He has, absolutely.
Argo's excellent. Fucking The Town.
Yep.
The Town's one of the best Boston movies ever made that's not named The Departed.
I still love that movie.
It's so great.
It is. And I know the line that we both just want to say, but we're recording right now, and we're
I
just
know,
like,
I can't say it.
I'm not going to say it. He's not going to say it.
There's so many lines from that movie I want to say, and I can't say it.
No, How's Your Mother? Oh, okay. That one. With Alec Baldwin's character. Yeah.
Maybe not. Maybe go fuck yourself.
Yeah. Yep.
Like,
and just like the defeatism at the end, like, okay. That movie's so great. But now that I'm looking at the time and realize like we've spent like 30 minutes not talking about wrestling, really. As usual.
The fans love it though. It's fine.
No, they do. Where do you want to start tonight? I don't even care. Where do you want to start tonight?
Well, let's start off with the road. Where we're going, we don't need roads to WrestleMania.
I would agree with that.
The thing about it is, somebody texted me the other night. They're like, I have no idea what's going on for WrestleMania. And I said, look, at this point, Owen Hart could come back and challenge Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship. I would believe it. I said, the way that things are going, you really don't know what direction they're going to go in week to week. There's a lot of things, of course, we called because we have been calling for weeks that we feel like the night one of WrestleMania is going to be a tag team match between Rollins and Cody against The Rock and Roman Reigns. And that seems to be the direction.
Well, but if you watched Friday, I mean, that was the challenge.
Yes.
If you're going to watch SmackDown again this Friday or past Friday, whatever, depending on when you're watching this, we'll find out. It very likely is seeming like that's the direction, however, considering Cody and Seth Rollins are going to be at SmackDown, supposedly to give their answer to The Rock. Well, we'll see, but I like you said, I think it's very likely that's the direction, given all the signs that we're seeing now.
It seems to be the direction of where things are going. It's been the obvious set of directions, I think, for people. But now the wonder is, and the intrigue that there's a lot of sleuths online that are making things up or kind of coming up with their own theories. I've heard that Seth Rollins is going to turn on Cody Rhodes and that he's been an incel or a spy for the bloodline. And they're going to turn, but again, I don't know how much that's going to make sense, considering that Seth Rollins still has to defend his championship against Drew McIntyre the next night.
Yep.
Unless they feel that Drew McIntyre is going to go into this the baby face instead of the heel, where they try and go to maybe, I don't know, because then when CM Punk comes back, CM Punk's going to be the baby face, and he's going to go up against Drew McIntyre.
Right.
So I don't know if they're going to go in that direction. However, there is some problems seem to be brewing between Roman Reigns and The Rock.
Yep.
Which seems to me.
So before you even say your comment, just real quick, I have to say it because I actually broke this down into 2 slides this week because so much went on, right? And so I got the SmackDown slide up right now, and I have a Raw slide when we talk about the other aspect, especially Drew McIntyre, for example. But I almost felt, and I think I mentioned this to you and also to Mark too in a different chat, like, what is this, 1998 with like a 40-minute segment?
Yes.
It was unreal to me. It's like,
yes.
Roman's like, I want to get out of here. He's like, no, we have to wait. He'll be back after the commercial. And I'm like, oh my God. And then he comes out in his same kind of old school heel attire, The Rock, that is, and just spitballs for like another 20 minutes itself. And I'm like, what is happening right now? Like, what is this? Is it 1998? Is Steve Austin here? Like, what's going on?
This is all after The Rock put out a 21-minute promo on Twitter. Or X, sorry. Whatever. On X, he released a 21-minute promo, which, again, is a masterpiece, a masterclass as far as talking ability. There is no one better at certain points. He is one of the best talkers in the history of the industry.
Absolutely.
The closing line, pretty much the closing line of it, from man to man. Fuck your story, Cody Rhodes. It's hysterical. And there's a portion of the public, it's 95, like it's 99% of the wrestling WWE audience that wants to see Cody Rhodes beat Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. But there's still that 1% that are still going to root for The Rock and still going to, with Roman Reigns. It's hilarious to see like that 1% of people that are still just like, well, how can you, like, of course, The Rock's the greatest. Everybody should be kissing his ass and all this stuff. And it's just like, it's so funny to me.
It is.
Because it's so funny to me. Because it is true. There is a portion, because there's going to be more eyes on this fucking thing now more than ever, because of the combination of two things. Last year, they said it was the most watched WrestleMania in history. Now it's going to be twofold, because you're going to have one of the biggest stars, not only in pro wrestling, but also just in entertainment, movies, and all that stuff in history. And he is going to be headlining night one. And he is going to probably be playing a factor in night two at some certain point. So one of the biggest stars in the world is a part of your talent roster. It's a win-win. It's an automatic, the world is going to be watching, so to speak.
Right.
So he's doing his absolute bestest to try to have the most eyeballs onto a product or onto an event in the history of the industry. And they're cooking right now. And the reason the thing about it is they've been doing great business even before he decided to come in. And now business is even going to be even fucking better.
Yeah. Definitely.
Every SmackDown that he's going to be a part of, it's going to be a sellout, because everybody's going to want to see this guy, because this could be the last time. He's getting up there in age. He's not getting any younger, and there's only going to be so many times he's going to be able to go to that extent. So you're going to have people like myself that are aged similarly, like Mack, where we're all going to be wanting to show the younger generation our heroes, or rekindle old things and think about old times. You get together with your old friends from high school and college, because this is what you did. The same guy that was around in 1998 and 1999 is going to be gracing us with his presence at WrestleMania to make the product bigger. And Seth Rollins is going to make a good payday because of it. Roman Reigns, of course, is going to make 2 double good paydays, because he's now going to be like, I'm the only guy in history to main event both nights of WrestleMania. Maybe if you're the women talent, you're a little pissed off, but
Cody can say the same thing as Roman too, if you think about it.
Yeah,
they both main evented last year, and they both are main eventing the same. One night too. So
exactly, Cody's can say the same thing, and especially if Cody also goes 2-0, and pins The Rock on the first night, and then the second night pins Roman Reigns, which, in my opinion, if it's not Cody, then it could be Rollins, because Rollins beating The Rock would be kind of a big deal. Of course, though, this is all a thought process with people who say that Seth Rollins is going to turn against Cody Rhodes, which, hey, it's all in all possible. But I don't know if that's going to be. It's such a weird thought process people are thinking of just like,
So
Rollins is going to turn against Cody.
I can I can give you some insight. And listen, I'm going to tell you right now, this is just my speculation. I haven't read any of that stuff. I have seen it, but I haven't read into it. But quite simply, like Cody left in terms of going after Solo.
Yeah.
And he kind of left Seth Rollins alone, and that's when Drew Mack comes out. So you could maybe make that argument that, hey, where were you that night? I just feel that if that's the case, it really doesn't make any sense.
No.
Regardless of the reasoning why, right? It doesn't make sense because to me it's like you have the guy, he's a top face in the company right now, he's your world heavyweight champion, and he's fighting a heel in Drew McIntyre the next night. Why are you gonna turn? That doesn't make any sense. And at that point, if they win night one, Bloodline supposedly is barred from ringside. And I feel like that makes more sense than Bloodline rules. It just does. The only thing that's not going to make sense is when The Rock comes out to interfere and probably slaps Roman Reigns instead of Cody Rhodes, but
that's, because they're building that tension, I think, more than they are.
That's exactly what they did Friday, absolutely.
And that is also why I haven't touched on it yet, because there is something to it where they are building that tension probably for next year, which probably at that point they don't have to do the title. They don't have to do it for the title.
Exactly.
Or wherever they're going to do the match, because Rock is wrestling WrestleMania this year. If he wants to be at SummerSlam this year and they want to try to sell out that house, I think they're going to be at Cleveland for that. Which that's interesting. They're going to have a massive pay-per-view like that in Cleveland. The Brown Stadium. It's like, don't you want to go somewhere that actually won things? Like,
oh man.
Like, at least Philadelphia for WrestleMania. They've won a Super Bowl, so they've won things in that place. But Cleveland, it's like, well, of course you were in Detroit last year too, and they really haven't. When have the Lions done anything? Well, they almost won it this year.
I was going to say they choked in the playoffs, so that's what they did.
Choked. The minute they lost, I'm just like, well, I know Kansas City's winning the Super Bowl, hook or by crook.
Yep.
And
I held out hope, but
you just do.
Yeah.
And but the Roman Reigns and Rock tension, if it wasn't Roman Reigns holding down the microphone, if it wasn't Roman Reigns getting impatient because he wanted to leave, it was also the facial reactions of Paul Heyman knowing, oh boy, there is some problems inside. Because again, Roman Reigns wants to be the head of the table, but you have a guy that is making millions of dollars doing television, doing movies and TV, and can come back for 1 or 2 months and gain more business. It's like, business is great with me on top, but my cousin's coming in and he's going to make business even that much fucking better. And that's what's happened. Every SmackDown that The Rock is going to be on, leading into WrestleMania, that he is going to be on, it's sold out already. Because again, they want to see this fucking guy. Because again, you don't know if or when he's not going to be doing this anymore. Period.
True.
And he also takes these long sabbaticals, which, I mean, he's not going to come back and work a full-time schedule. Do I see him maybe doing this more often, more time go on? Yeah. It's been great having him come in every so often. Like, it has. Like, I think it's just, you can't go wrong with business when he sticks around. I mean, and he's been there for some big moments. But now, for him, business is even better. And they're hot. They're in a great creative direction, which, again, the way that we've seen how this past Monday, the way that we've seen how Friday is, so many questions leading in.
Oh God, yeah.
And so many guesses that we have to try and make. A gauntlet match for the Intercontinental Championship to figure out who's going to be challenging Gunther, which, again, I'm like, oh, just do multi-man, like just do
I actually like this idea, though, the gauntlet match. Because on the road to WrestleMania, like, before we even get into this, right, like, we had Dakota Kai turning, which I thought was going to be, like, the week before or even at WrestleMania.
Not like a month before.
Yeah, exactly. You had Ray come back, which makes sense for the storyline against Santos. They'll probably have a match at Mania. You had LA Knight looking for AJ Styles all night to only be told by Nick Aldis that he wasn't even there. And then going into Raw, we still have like a lot of questions just about the main event alone, but we'll kind of just circle through what you said in terms of the gauntlet match. All these guys deserve a shot.
Yes.
Well, I'm sorry. 5 of them do. I don't know how J.D. McDonough just got in this match, but,
He's Irish.
He's got a big head, bro.
He's just, to me, he's just, I don't know. He's just...
Dude, he is worse than Dom at this point.
Dom has at least, I don't know if you would, Dom at least has a future.
Yeah.
And
that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, he's figured it out. He's figured it out. And that drives me crazy to say. But at the same time, I'll be the first one to admit when I'm wrong. And I was wrong about the kid. He's got a future in the industry. And I respect his work. I think he's gotten a lot better. I think people around him have made him better. I mean, Absolutely. Come on. The fucking, like, why did you go up and stand up together? I did it for mommy. It's like, it's fucking hilarious.
It is.
Like, because he understands his part. It's like, all right, they're going to pay to see me get my ass kicked. Yeah, but they're going to pay a lot of money to see you get your ass kicked, kid.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so you know what? Keep it going. All right. Maybe someday he can be a babyface. I don't know when, but maybe someday.
Whenever they decide to kill the Judgment Day, I think is when it's going to happen. But I think it's telling that he had the match with Gunther and that it went the way it did. Because it actually did show him in a somewhat positive light. But speaking about the Judgment Day just for a quick second, who knew that they would actually get like cheering reactions on the match with Imperium? Like two of the most hated like heel teams at the Raw roster. That's what happens. It's just weird. But yeah,
Kaiser's going to get more hate because people know, like, Kaiser's in a weird position because he's a rather talented individual, especially when he does his introductions for Gunther. He's fucking great. But there's going to be a lot of people that are going to give him hate because of the fact of that he is with Madam Stratton. So it's like he's automatically gonna just, people are gonna be like, hey, I hate you so much. Like, that's what possibly could happen with people on that end of talent, where it's just you're with the wrong person, and automatically they're just like.
Well, I mean, listen, that's happened so many times in the past. Anyway, it's like with certain tag teams, with certain factions. I mean, it just kind of happens. So like, oh man, why is
It
that
has. It's happened in the past.
But yeah, about the gauntlet match, it's just it cracks me up a little bit, but it does kind of make sense because I think all these guys are kind of deserving of some kind of a WrestleMania match, as it were, really, at the end of the day. Not JD, which he's not going to win the match anyways, let's be real. He's just kind of in the match. Gable has a compelling story against Gunther from what happened over the summer. Big Bronson Reed having missed Elimination Chamber especially, which we all know why, which last show or 2 shows ago where he had the birth of his first child. Shinsuke had a great feud with Seth Rollins this year. Sami Zayn has been just nothing short of phenomenal, and that would be a new feud for Gunther as well. He's never fought Sami, really. And then Ricochet, just, I don't really care.
Ricochet.
Yep. Rico shit. Sorry if you're a Ricochet fan, I apologize. But it's compelling. It'll be something for about a week, and then they could start whatever feud they're going to start with the winner, which, not for nothing, I think it should be Sammy. I wouldn't hate it to be Chad Gable either, but kind of feels weird where they're not really doing much with that Alpha Academy at this point anymore, so I don't know.
Chad Gable, Sami Zayn would make sense.
I would even argue Shinsuke or Bronson Reed would. You could make the
Nakamura
argument, not as much as Sammy and Chad Gable. I agree with you, but Shinsuke would make sense too. Bronson Reed, I would maybe argue was like, if you're looking at like 3 rings circling each other, he's in the middle, and then JD and Ricochet are just like on that outer circle, like not even having a chance, in my opinion. But
yeah, if JD should be like the first guy eliminated.
Yeah, 100%. He 100% should be.
Yeah.
But kind of.
What do you see in him? Why?
Yeah, seriously. Kind of a segue away from that and more towards the women, because we didn't really we touched on the Bailey and Dakota Kai thing a little bit, but where do you think this thing with Becky and Liv and even Nia Jax to a certain degree are going? Because it just feels like this match this week against Becky and Liv is just going to be interrupted by Nia instead, and this just seems like a weird circle that they're kind of going in with this.
I have no idea.
I think you just got smacked by something.
I did. I got hit in the face with a bottle.
Oh, I didn't see the bottle. Okay.
Good night, honey. We'll leave that in.
No, you might as well. I see like something weird like go at you, and your facial reaction is like,
Yeah, no, I tried to no sell it.
Yeah, I mean, you probably would have succeeded if I wasn't looking right at the screen when it happened. But
no, exactly right. I probably would have just no sold it.
Yeah.
But she, that's her way of saying goodnight. It's such a healthy relationship.
Oh, it is. But yeah, where do you think that's going? Like, it just seems like a weird kind of segue.
My relationship, I think it's going great.
No, not that. Thanks. Thank you. I'm glad. Obviously, I'm glad it's going well.
No, I think we're talking about Becky, Rhea, and Liv situation.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say Rhea really, except for when she came out after her and Liv had the little square off in the back, but more so Nia, her, and Liv especially.
Yeah, it's weird because now it's just like, okay, so what are we doing here? Like, are we causing some sort of? It's like a side quest. I feel like
it's like side quest.
It's a side quest. I feel like now that she's just on a side quest until WrestleMania, and it's just like, okay, but we can get to like the main story. Oh, the main story is too far away. We need to be able to, like, oh god, like it's Skyrim. You just find a cave and you're just looking at stuff.
It's funny you say that because it's exactly the reference I was kind of making in my head, like Skyrim.
I should be on the main quest. No, I'm just
No,
and
no, you
I'm
shouldn't.
just learning how to become a locksmith. It's fine.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'd pick every loot chest I could.
Yes.
And then
No,
it's
I
just like,
think that
oh,
was
I
everybody.
sold that. I can't progress. Oh, okay, great.
Damn it.
Yeah. That actually used to happen in the older games. Like if you killed certain people without knowing they were part of the main story, you couldn't progress to the main story anymore.
Oh,
They didn't
God.
respawn or anything. Yeah, those older games were pretty rough. But I do obviously since we're talking the Raw portion of the Road to WrestleMania now from this past week, I I liked the Cody segment. I liked the Seth segment with them together, and then obviously the main event was Jey Uso versus Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre has this very laissez-faire attitude that I'm just loving at this point because it's just so fucking funny. And he definitely makes more CM Punk's references. And like you said last week, he could not keep CM Punk's name out of his goddamn mouth.
I love it.
And
so
I'm all
much.
here for it. Yeah, exactly.
I love it. I hate the fact that Punk is out of WrestleMania, but I love the fact that Drew McIntyre is literally like just he has a joke book and he's just writing every CM Punk joke he could, and like every week he just comes out with 5 more. He's just like, ugh.
Yeah, and I mean that's the beauty of it. It's just like you think he's done, and there's another one right behind it.
To quoting his press conference, that famous presser, in a tweet.
Yep.
He even quoted that. He called somebody an empty-headed dumb F. And
pretty sure it was Seth Rollins, but yeah,
he was.
So let's talk about that real quick. The backstage segment, he basically says that he is obsessed with these moments, making these spots, whatever you want to call it. I don't remember the exact wording, but he essentially is addicted to it, and it's a problem. Then he goes out, he faces Jey Uso, and then the Usos come out. Or I'm sorry, the Usos. Jimmy comes out and ruins the match for Jay, obviously. Solo comes out, so out comes Cody Rhodes, out comes Seth Rollins. Seth is able to kind of get Jimmy out of the ring, and then he's planted with a claymore by Drew McIntyre, who's on the screen right now, holding the championship belt over him that night at the end of Raw. And I thought it was so fitting that it went off the air that way. Because I remember last week we were like, oh, is he going to try to recruit Drew? Is Drew maybe going to go for this? Like, you don't really know where it's going.
Nope.
And then this week, he makes it pretty clear, nah, don't do it, Seth. Like,
Claymore.
You got to worry about me. And then, sure enough, at the end of the night, yep, Claymore. So, because Drew has always kind of said he wants Seth Rollins at 100%. Maybe he'll interfere in that match to help them win, so that way he does get 100% Seth Rollins, so to speak, on night 2. But I think he made that pretty clear that he don't care anymore.
No.
So I think
he'll take every advantage at this point too.
Yeah.
Yeah. He just because he's come so close so many times that it's kind of like how Bret Hart did things in it's the same kind of Bret Hart booking that he went through in 96, 97, where it was just like he came so close, he keeps getting screwed over and all this stuff, and now he's just like, fuck the system, and pretty much that's exactly what he's doing. And so he's going to go into this and he's going to take every little shortcut and advantage because he wants to walk out of WrestleMania as champion. And he's getting the smart money is you cannot have Seth Rollins beat him. You can't, because McIntyre has lost to him so many times now. It's like, okay, there has to be a payoff here, and the payoff has to be Drew McIntyre wins. But the problem is, it's like, you don't know which one of these guys, because McIntyre's contract is question mark.
Yeah.
Seth Rollins' contract is a question mark.
I think it's more question mark than Drew's. Drew's, it's kind of been talked about that he might have re-signed quietly and nobody really knows. But with Seth, yeah, because there's that whole question about Becky too, so nobody knows.
And then, there's other promoters that are throwing money around.
Oh yeah.
So it's you have to kind of figure it out where, okay, how much do they cost us? Because we have all these contracts coming up this year, and all these guys they deserve to get paid. They deserve to get a bump. I'm sure CM Punk ain't working for peanuts either, so I'm sure his downside is pretty substantial.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of guys that are probably making that. I mean, there's no redacted anymore, so you can take his $12 million a year and spread the fucking wealth around. You could probably get at least 2 or 3 contracts with the amount of money that you were paying him in a year. That's somebody's downside. That's at least 2 or 3 for somebody.
Oh yeah,
like
absolutely.
5 here, 5 there, 2 here. A bunch of shit you could do. And because I think that the way that WWE can kind of keep people is that they can say, well, yeah, we're going to offer you less money, but your bonuses, your checks for merchandise and all that stuff, we'll move a couple of decimal points over, so that way you get more percentage. Because that was how Austin was making a lot of his money, where he was getting paid on his downside not much, but he was making $1 million a month just in T-shirt sales. By the way, absolutely. For the month of March, the number one seller, actually, I think for the month of February, the number one seller for wrestling shirts for WWE, Stone Cold Steve Austin. It's almost 30 years ago.
So let's stop for a second. I was going to ask you this, and I think it's a perfect segue. We was talking about Stone Cold Steve Austin. In a lot of these challenges, especially from brand to brand, there is always that in-between period, right? Where it's like you have to wait from Monday to Friday or Friday to Monday for them to kind of answer the question. Typically, however, they answer the question. This week, however, they did not yet, and we're waiting on SmackDown to finally have an answer face-to-face, which I'm fine with. I have absolutely no problem with that. In saying that, though, do you feel that there might be a special guest referee for this match?
Oof. That's a possibility, but I don't know. The really big possibility.
That's why I'm asking.
I mean, it would make sense because it might get to that point.
Well,
it does make sense because Triple H might do it. Will have to get to a point. But I've also heard that they might have CM Punk be the referee for McIntyre and Seth Rollins.
You can have a special guest referee on night 1 and night 2. I don't see anything wrong with that.
They could, right. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. 100%.
The thing is, for me, it's that I don't know how this match is going to be clean either way. So I think having the incentive of a special guest referee or even a special enforcer like they did with Tyson, right, where you have that kind of authoritative figure that could also be rough and tough. And I'm just saying, man, like, if anybody I feel would be fit for that position, it would be Steve Austin because of that history that he has with The Rock, especially.
Well, there are rumors, though, too, that they might bring in Stallone for an appearance.
Oh, God.
So maybe they bring Stallone in on this and have him do something. Hey, Stallone's still a name. And plus, they're going to be in Philadelphia, which is, Stallone's always going to be tied in there because of Rocky. So
yeah, I got it. Thanks.
I'm not trying to remind you. I'm just saying. Do you hate the Rocky films? Is that it?
No, I don't. I just hate the fact that there was that reference. That's all. Because I fucking had a feeling it was coming as soon as you said Stallone. I'm like,
I could have said milk
shit.
steak because I could have made it like a "It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia" reference.
I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut. Anyway,
Why?
because
Why?
Because it's that much more comical to me to do it. I I think regardless of the hypotheticals, I think it would make sense to have one, whether it is Steve Austin, whether it is Stallone of all people, which would just be weird.
Ooh.
Yeah, exactly. 1, 2, give me a brisk, baby. There's nothing on ice that can save you, Rock. That's brisk, baby.
My favorite brisk commercial is still Babe Ruth, the Babe Ruth one, because and I saw a clip of it on Facebook, and Reggie Jackson goes out and heads him the brisk, which that wasn't one of the funnier parts that made me pop. It was George Steinbrenner yelling at Billy Martin and being like, "Martin, why is he sweating? Why is he wearing a turtleneck? Why is he sweating? You're fired." And then Reggie Jackson goes out and has a conversation with Babe Ruth and hands him a brisk. So one of the commenters says, "Reggie Jackson actually being a good teammate. Who would have thought?" He's like, "That's the most unbelievable thing in this whole video."
There were some good ones though. The Rocky one was pretty good. That one was very good too.
The Rocky one was good. I like the Babe Ruth one was really good. They had some really good ones. Those were actually some that, as far as like advertising is concerned. And I'm also a sucker for that like claymation, almost like puppet like type.
Oh yeah, man.
Stuff.
We definitely, both of us. I feel like, especially back then too, we're definitely fans of that.
Reaganomics.
Yeah, that. So definitely some Robot Chicken up in there, and Celebrity Deathmatch as well.
Oh God, Celebrity Deathmatch.
Yep. And we just completely aged ourselves with that one because I don't think that's been around in a while. But yeah,
I think it is on Paramount Plus to be actually honest on
that. It wouldn't surprise me because I think that's where Beavis and Butthead is too. So that would not surprise me at all.
Have you seen any of the new episodes?
I have not.
Okay, I have not either.
There's so much media that I'm behind on.
I know
that I just completely forget what I have to watch, and especially now. So like I guess I'll clarify that here on air, whatever. The reason I haven't even played 2K24 yet is because I was like, you know what, a live react actually would be pretty good, but I go to school part time too. I'm a supervisor at my job. I have a family. Like, I got a lot of shit going on. I don't have time like I used to for a lot of stuff. And then I used to stay up late, and now I go to sleep at a somewhat more reasonable hour on a somewhat regular basis. So it's just, I don't think about it anymore.
Right.
I'll watch TV maybe, and then I'll, just, okay, I'm ready for bed. I don't stay up till like 2 a.m. playing shit or watching shit anymore. So, but, any other closing thoughts for the road to WrestleMania? Or I think we're kind of wait and see for SmackDown.
Yeah, it's just we're kind of in that mode of like, okay, we gotta wait for the rebuttal.
Yep.
Plus, it's just again, it's like we're at the point of the countdown clock for fucking New Year's Eve. It's just like, well, let's take a look at how good this year. It's like fuck. Well, more or less, though, too, we're like the 11 o'clock hour on Super Bowl Sunday, and you got to try to kill time before a fucking 6 o'clock kickoff. That's kind of where we're at as far as WrestleMania stages are concerned, because, yes, we have a general basis of where the matches are going, but also at the same time, there's so many question marks because you look at the Becky Lynch situation, then you look at the Rock, Roman, Cody, and Seth situation. Yeah, we know where some of the matches are going title-wise, but we also don't know what's going to main event night one. We don't know who's going to be challenging who. We don't know who's going to be involved. It's a lot to process, but it's also a lot to like talk about when there's so much other stuff that's been going on recently this week, especially.
So there is actually something we forgot to talk about. And I'm a little mad that I have pictures prepped for this, but I just completely forgot with everything else going on today to actually put them on a slide. So, as you know, Meta, Facebook, Instagram, had a little bit of an outage this week. Ironically, this happened on Tuesday. The night immediately following, or the day following, really, because that's what happened, Monday Night Raw. And I just want to say congratulations. So, congratulations to Michael Cole for finally getting his antlers and wearing them, no less, during the show.
Oh, God. He is a national treasure at this point.
The joke was obviously, and I posted this on Facebook on the shoe page, which please like and follow that. But I posted, I was like, okay, of course it's the day that Michael Cole goes viral is the day that Meta gets crap, like hacked and whatever else. I think that's what happened is those pictures went viral and Facebook's algorithm didn't know how to handle that.
It's just like, how is this happening? Is this porno? Like, what is he doing? Because they're looking at Pat McAfee's commentary. They're just like, oh my God. Oh, did he say that? Oh, he couldn't have said that on television.
The funniest part about Pat McAfee's commentary was actually the Dom and Gunther match. Get him, Gunther, you suck, Dom, don't look at me. Oh my God, it was so funny. But the antlers just... I feel like that was like a rib, because every time he brings it up, Triple H is like, Sarah, please go out with the horns tonight. Please put them on Michael. Just please do it.
The funny part about all this is too with McAfee, because that wasn't the highlight of his week, because apparently him and Stephen A. Smith got into an altercation in ESPN. Huh. So that isn't like the headline that's carried him this week. It does bring you though some kind of fan base though with his, because he's on ESPN every day, and of course him and Stephen A. Stephen A. is by far their biggest star, and Pat is kind of like their new guy on the block.
Yep.
But he still cannot hold it. I love Pat, love him, but he cannot hold a candle to Stephen A. Smith. It's like they're not even in the same fucking league. No. Like Stephen A. is I absolutely love and adore Stephen A. Smith. Like as far as what he's been able to do in broadcast, especially when the Cowboys lose, my God, that guy, they should play his. That should be a national memo for everybody in the country every time that the Cowboys lose a game, just to see Stephen A. Smith's reaction to it. It is priceless. But apparently, so Pat McAfee has had an interesting week as far as that's concerned. Where Monday everybody was just like, "Oh, I can't believe he said that on television," but then the Dom commentary, "Don't look at me, you suck.
You suck, Dom. Don't look at me." Just the kissing ass to Gunther because of like the last time, and then kissing ass to the point of like insulting Dom just was hilarious. I was like, oh my God, it just works.
He has, I think that they expected Gronk to be in the position that Pat McAfee is in. It's so weird because like they really expected Gronk to be like to transition into that, and I thought Gronk had the ability too, but Pat is just so much better, and so much just a better personality, and somebody that just fits into that concept. I mean, you know, he's also got to be an animal too, because here he is doing ESPN, and then he's flying across the country on a Monday night, so that way he could be able to do Raw every Monday. I mean, that's gonna wear on him, that schedule. But at the same time, it's just he's in a position right now with this product where he is kind of like Joe Rogan, where it's just like he has such a huge platform, and he's the commentator that brings his coolness, edginess to that product. Yeah, so I mean, he's in the same boat as like Joe Rogan is. So,
yep. No, I just thought it was so funny that
The
They brought
antlers.
out the horns. Yeah, exactly. I was just like, wait a minute. As soon as I said, I was like, all right, do you have any closing thoughts for this? I was like, oh my god, we
And
forgot
people
about Michael
popped for it.
Cole.
It was so hilarious.
It was hilarious. Dude, they were like chanting his name.
I know.
I was like, you're
It was
chanting Michael Cole?
hilarious.
What? It
Who would
was.
have thought it?
I
Who
thought.
would have thought it?
I gotta say, like, I thought that out of all the wrestling that I've seen lately, just even being on the road to WrestleMania, Monday night just felt fun. It
Yeah.
felt fun again.
Yes.
It just did. Like, yeah, you had some serious parts. Yeah, you had some funny parts. And like, that felt fun again. And that's what I love about wrestling, especially when it feels fun, is that you can see they're having a fun time. You can see them kind of like doing other things to like joke and rib each other. And it's just, I just loved it. I thought it was just perfect Raw. Was it like a perfect television show? No, of course not. But it felt right. Felt like everything was good in the world again, in the world of wrestling for a little bit.
They still haven't figured out. We still haven't figured out yet if they're doing 3 hours every Monday with Netflix.
Yeah.
Because that, I think, has been one of the biggest problems that has held that show back, is because of the fact it's just too long. And I'm sure people can sit there, oh, well, like a baseball game, football game, it's about the same amount. Yeah, that's true. But it's just 3 hours is just too damn long for
I would
episodic
rather
television.
they take an hour from that and just, and I'm not going to compare shows regardless of promotion, but I would rather they take an hour from Raw and maybe add another hour somewhere else and just make a third show. I would almost rather that than have Robbie 3 complete hours like that.
Bring back like Confidential.
I mean, you could do that.
Yeah.
The thing is, what I would say is this, right? So, granted, it's a 3-hour show. You don't need a script for the whole 3 hours because there are commercials. You're not going to have commercials on Netflix, though. So
No.
maybe all you need to do is reduce a half an hour. And even that, 2.5 hours is not bad.
Yeah, you can reduce that. That's true.
Half the shit's going to be vignettes anyways.
Yep.
So
I mean,
that's what I would do. But listen, at the end of the day, I don't know where that goes either way. We don't know, and we don't know what SmackDown's going to end up looking like on USA. We just found out this week, supposedly it's going to stay on Fridays, they were told. We don't know what's going to happen with NXT yet, so there's still a lot of unknowns, but I think at least in the terms of getting rid of a third hour of Raw, I agree. It's a sloth to try to get through it. I know so many people that kind of do it differently, whether they watch the whole thing, whether they watch and take breaks and click on something else for a while and try to beat the commercial back, whether they start recording it and then they start watching it like 40, 50 minutes in to miss the commercials at least. Like, everybody kind of does it differently, but it is a lot to get through. It is.
It has gotten easier as far as accessibility, though, goes too. Because people now with on demand and with DVR and stuff, they can kind of skip over parts of it that they don't want to watch. YouTube is also a great source. There was a time period where I didn't watch a lot of the weekly TV. I would just get updates on YouTube, and then I would just watch the pay-per-view every month. That was a time, though, when the business was kind of like,
Yeah, exactly.
where things lately has just been like, I really don't kind of want to miss anything because I feel like I'm going to miss something, and then going to WrestleMania, and it's just like, I have no idea what's going on. So, yeah, but I feel like that we're headed in a really good direction with things. Again, it is fun to see Monday Night Raw, though, that spontaneous stuff again, that kind of happening, that they're just letting stuff happen organically now more than ever, because under the old regime, everything has to be this way. Perfect. None of that. No, you're fired. And now it's not like that. So,
yeah. No, it is. It's definitely a lot funner to watch than it's been in a long time. I don't even mean just that night, but just in general, and I think everybody would kind of agree with that has been watching the product.
100%.
But what should we talk about now?
Well, I guess we can touch on the Hall of Fame because that came out on Monday, and actually, I'm very, I guess you could say, in the festive mood as far as my sweatshirt is concerned.
Nice.
It was announced this past Monday. Well, let's start off with Bull Nakano. Bull Nakano, this past Wednesday, was announced that she will be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, class of 2024. Former WWF Women's Champion during the mid-90s. She had the great feud with Alundra Blaze and Medusa. This was a feud that went not only in Japan, went to the WWF, but they also headlined, I think it was Hog Wild 1996 for WCW. So they have always kind of, they kind of just made each other as far as the feud is concerned. And especially in women's wrestling back then, where it was not so much taken seriously in the United States, but it was taken very, very seriously in Japan, which is why she was kind of a trailblazer over there, and was able to be not only, especially in All Japan in the early to mid 90s was, they were doing things with women's wrestling that was probably 25 years ahead of the curve. Because you look at 2016 pretty much for WWE, they were doing things in like 90, 91, something at the Tokyo Dome with women's wrestling, with their tag team division, with their singles stars. They were so ahead of the curve, and Bull Nakano was a big part of that. And wrestled for every major promotion in the United States and also in Japan back in the 90s. And kind of was a trailblazer. And a lot of women that were in the 2000s, late 90s, that got into it was because of her. They used to get her matches during doing tape trading with Japan, things of that nature, because her best work was in Japan. But trailblazer once again. So her going into the Hall of Fame makes complete sense. I know there was people that were just like, but she has made one hell of an impact. And not trying to shit on people's education as far as the wrestling business is concerned. But sometimes it's one of those picks where it's like you kind of need to know really to kind of do your own kind of research to figure out who she is, because top draw in the industry made it so much better and set things up for the current generation of stars. Women's wrestling would not be where it is today without Bull Nakano and the achievements that she was able to make. And finally, I think one that when I heard that they were going to be in Philly this year for Mania, I kind of just was like, well, if they're going to do it, it should be this year. And that is the induction of perhaps one of the most brilliant minds in the history of the professional wrestling industry. Somebody that has been making an impact in the industry since the early 80s, late 70s, actually, as a photographer at the old Madison Square Garden. He has had a personal relationship with the, I guess I could say, McMahon family, going back to the old man senior, and as a photographer, and was actually had his own little press business. It was wrestling. I forget what it was called, but in the mid 80s, he was doing bookings for Studio 54. This, of course, was after its peak. And he ended up hosting this event, this gala event, where he gave Ric Flair the Man of the Year award. The only reason he gave it to Ric Flair was because Hulk Hogan was unavailable. He doesn't say that out loud that often. But Hogan was unavailable, so we could get Flair. So Flair came in for it. But it was also the professional debut of Bam Bam Bigelow. Then he went to Memphis, caused a little controversy there because he said lesbian on television, and that freaks some people out. Went to the AWA, went to the NWA, WCW, and then started and helped build what became what I think is the most successful independent pro wrestling promotion of all time in ECW, and revolutionized the industry and has had an impact on this industry still to this day with his innovations of what he brought to the masses as far as that is concerned. This is long overdue. And I'm not even talking yet about his managerial work and his commentary work and his on-screen character work that he has had in WWE in the last 20 plus years. He's managed some of the greatest champions of the last 20 years, including Redacted. Even though they mentioned him by name the other night, so I guess I could say the last 3 long-term world champions in WWE have been managed by one man. He managed CM Punk during his 434-day championship reign between 2011 and 2013. He managed Brock Lesnar's Universal Championship reign between 2017 and 2018. And he is currently associated with the longest reigning world champion in pro wrestling. Well, not the longest reigning world champion in WWE since 1988. Roman Reigns, who has held the title now for 3.5 years. Paul Heyman is, I guess you could say, your long-term solution for your heel champions. But the impact that this man has had is still unbelievable. The fact that they're doing this in Philadelphia, I think it definitely makes a statement. They understand the impact that he has had on that town. Triple H also is someone that could make these decisions. I don't know if this was going to ever happen. Because in my opinion, this should be a very ECW-centric Hall of Fame. Paul's the first one to get in there. Shane Douglas should be getting a call. Francine should be getting a call. Taz should be getting a call. Tommy Dreamer, Sandman, Raven. There is a bunch of guys that should be getting a call that have made an impact in the city of Philadelphia and ECW for itself. The reason, and considering the fact that Paul Heyman might still owe some of these guys money, it might be able for them to get a nice little payday with him involved. Yep. Make everybody feel better in that situation. The only thing I could say about ECW is, and how great Paul is the fact of that Tony Khan wishes that AEW can have a tenth of the impact that ECW has had on this industry. And he wishes also, and should have done whatever he could have to get Paul Heyman to come work for him and at least be his booker. Because this was the key. He was able to string everything together with ECW and make such a huge impact on culture and wrestling as itself. And just its impact. He was able to do it and only be $8 million, I think, in the hole at the end of it. Where supposedly AEW lost like $35 million last year. Just last year. So I have to keep reminding people that. I'm just like, well, they only lost $35 million last year. Well, yeah, but what about 2022? What about 2021? What about 2020? What about 2019? Like, then that adds up.
Yeah.
Then you're wondering. But Paul Heyman was $8 million in the hole when ECW went under. And it was also one of the few promotions that I can recall where it was a promotion that went under when they still were at maybe its peak fan base. Because they drew more money. ECW's biggest year revenue-wise was in the year 2000. They went under in 2001 because the problem that Paul was experiencing is that he had to pay in 1994. He was paying for 1994 and 1990 with 1995 revenue. He was paying for 1995 revenue with paying for the year for 1995 with 1996 revenue, and so on and so on and so on. He was always paying for the future to be able to get what he needed to get done for today. There was no tomorrow. That was the way ECW was. They were day to day, constantly. That's how that company was run. And usually, too, some of the most creative people should not have, they can't manage certain things.
Yep.
It's just, there's certain things they just can't manage. And maybe that was what Paul's problem was. But I think as a on-screen talent and what he has been able to do as far as character work and behind the scenes for WWE especially with the Bloodline storyline, because he's behind this tenfold. Like this is his template. His fingerprints are over every little aspect of this. You just sense it. Biggest wrestling storyline in the last decade and a half. In every single angle, every picture that you could take from the Bloodline, the whole storyline, there's one guy that's always been involved in that picture, and that's Paul Heyman. And
100%.
The unbelievable impact that this man has given to this industry since he came in here. It's one of the biggest. He's another one. You kind of put in like that category of like a Hogan or a Steve Austin or something. If we're talking about people in this industry that have had such like this giant impact, it's him. And I'm glad he's getting his due. I can't wait for the speech. Can't wait. A part of me thinks, since it's in Philly, just do it at the 2300. Just rent out Swanson and Radnor that night and have them do it there. Why not? Like, just get out the old ECW garb. Just dress up the building one last time to make it seem like it's the old ECW arena. And that's how he's given his speech.
Yep.
That, to me, would be one of the biggest love letters in the history of that building.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
One of the biggest love letters to one of the biggest companies in the history of the industry. Tony Khan his dad used to get a private plane sent to Philadelphia for him to go to ECW shows. And that was what he grew up on. And that was what he believed in as a company. So that's one thing that me and him can agree on. Because it is the only company that I wish still was in existence. Because I never wish it went under. Bothers me to this day it still went under. But at the same time, it's like I think about the current climate and things, and it's just like, yeah, there would have been a problem eventually.
I mean, not just in that, but I mean,
some line would have been crossed.
I mean, that's definitely true too. I don't know if they have the same appetite for hardcore wrestling as they did back then.
Yeah, I think now with head injuries, it's just because people know now with CTE and that stuff, and I can't watch a lot of it. It does get hard when you watch some of these matches from back in the day where they're just swinging the chair like they're bonds. They're going as hard as they can with the chair, and you're just like, yeah. And then you realize who the guy they're hitting either is no longer with us or in bad physical status. So you know the repercussions. You know what happens. Like, I love the Masato Tanaka and Mike Awesome feud, but it's hard to watch because knowing what happened to Mike Awesome. So like it's the same thing with like a Balls Mahoney and an Axel Rotten match. It's the same thing when I see Axel Rotten get hit in the head with a chair at full force, Balls Mahoney hitting someone at full force or getting hit himself full force, and then realizing, oh, they're no longer with us. There are, there are little things like that that you look at, you're like, oh, yeah, like the 2/3 of the triple threat gone, and there's, yeah, there are some things, negative drawbacks for what has happened with some of the ECW alumni, but I also look at other companies. I look at WWE's track record. I look at WCW's track record, and pretty much it was across the board where guys had issues. I think but everybody looks at ECW because of the risks they took, because of what everybody was doing, what or not was doing, what was being policed, what was not being policed, with people's habits and things of that nature. But I don't know. If I'm talking about an impact for this industry and what I feel like it brought to the table, I feel like ECW, as far as impacts in the industry, with what Paul was able to do with the budget that he had, unbelievable what they were able to pull off. Like just the stories that you hear and of the production of the nightmares. Yeah, we were just in Central Park one time at 5 a.m. and we're just filming it. It's like this guerrilla type style of just like, let's just not pull a permit. Fuck it. Let's just go start shooting the camera. And, you love that type of shit. And the fact that there's somebody you wanted to root for. I wanted to root for them. I was rooting for them more than I was WCW or WWE during the Monday Night War. I wanted ECW more to make it than I wanted the other two to make it. Because you knew one of them was going to make it in the end, but you didn't know what ECW was going to look like.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
The people look at ECW glowingly, and I as well. There were some people that think I shouldn't, but because if you look at the cold hard facts of it, and I've read the multiple books on the company, and they almost went under in like 98. They almost went under in 99. They almost went under in 2000. They were lucky they made it as long as they did.
Absolutely.
And, and I feel bad that it ended the way it did, but at the same time, there's thank God that some of the physical media in my life I'm never going to part with, because there's something about watching the Sandman come out and having that Metallica song than there is whatever WWE's playing on the network. Because the fucking rights fees. It's ridiculous.
You're not kidding. I'll say it that
I'm not.
way. It's just, I don't look at it as glowingly as you might, but I look at it at the very least fondly, right? Because there were some great storylines to all the promotions at that time period, I would argue. Maybe less so in the early stages of like the mid 90s, as we've kind of talked about before. But in that like 97, 98, 99 period, all three of those promotions had great storylines.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You talk about long-term storytelling. That Raven and Tommy Dreamer thing just went on and on and on and on. It was
brilliant.
And on. And exactly, it wasn't... nobody fucking hated it. It was brilliant, exactly. And just some of the other stuff that they were doing at that time period, it mattered. And
did you know, and I don't know if you know this.
Good.
Did you know that Tommy Dreamer wanted Raven to beat him on his way out the door of WCW?
I did hear about that. Yeah.
Yeah, like he wanted, and Paul was just like, "Fuck no," because he couldn't have Dreamer losing to Raven on his way out the door. It's like, you're fucking leaving. I can't have that.
Yeah, exactly.
And but that is because there is a part of you as a wrestling fan, and I understand it business wise. I get it. But I also know, being on the side of a Red Sox, and I hate to equate the Red Sox or like the Chicago Cubs, but when you win a championship and you chase after something for so long, that story it's kind of the problem they're going to have if Cody Rhodes finishes his story at WrestleMania. It's like, okay, now what? And that, I think, was their thought process going into that, of like, if I beat Dreamer out the door, then it's Dreamer never got that to complete that. And now he's off to another company, and now it's like Dreamer now will never get that opportunity. So there is that part of it, because that story continues. But as a wrestling promoter and as a booker thought process, yeah, Tommy Dreamer has to beat Raven. Like, it has to happen, because he's leaving the fucking company. But as someone that maybe you want to prolong the misery, because you know some people are going to be back, like, because they're going to want to see what happens next. How's he going to be able to get out of this one? How's he going to be able to explain himself? You know, it's a great that Tommy Dreamer Raven thing started off so many really interesting things. I mean, who could forget the Beulah McGillicuddy and Kimona Wanalea situation? You're just like,
Yeah.
How did it turn into this? Like, how did we get this? How do we get to this, Paul? Like, you're just sitting there laughing. Like, and then don't get me wrong with the Tommy Dreamer one, but he also had Raven at one point. Had Raven turn the Sandman's son against the Sandman.
Yep. I thought that one was hilarious too, honestly. I was like, is this really what's happening right now? Okay.
And apparently he was telling Sandman, he's just like, we're going to get Macaulay Culkin to play your son. And Sandman's just like, why don't we just have my own son do it for nothing? What the fuck are you doing, Paul?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, but Sandman was just like, there was no way he was going to get Macaulay Culkin anyways. He just wanted me to say, well, I'll bring my son into it. Like, because he didn't want to pay for fucking Macaulay Culkin. He didn't have the money, which is true. He didn't. But it's just hilarious to me. It's so the little nooks and cranny stories of ECW to me are absolutely hilarious. But with Paul Heyman, one of my fondest memories, and something I still watch every so often, is the barely legal promo on the stairs. You can put that speech up against anything that's been ever said to anybody in any human history. The greatest speech maybe in wrestling history, as far as like motivation is concerned, might be Paul Heyman that night. Because again, this company, it's like, we're running a fucking pay-per-view in front of like millions of homes right now, in front of a bingo hall in fucking South Philadelphia. And I have this crew of guys that have never made it to past a certain level before. I have a guy who's 53 years old that's going to be challenging for my World Heavyweight Championship. How the fuck am I going to pull this off? And they were able to pull it off into the greatest, probably, debut for a wrestling company on pay-per-view history. Barely Legal 97 is a modern day masterpiece. It is something that by far will exceed the importance of any major promotion that has come out in recent times.
He had so many good ones, though.
Oh God, they were
Really
so
did.
brilliant.
Yeah. Even in WWE, when I still remember to this day, you made wrestling a dirty word. It always stands out to me. Like shit like that. Any of the like long promos he had, even when he was doing commentary with JR, like just so many great monologues that came out of this dude. It's just
the most important one of the most important ones was the night after WrestleMania 30. That, because I remember everybody was in a state of shock because we were all it was Brock literally just destroyed everybody's hero. He destroyed my hero. And I've said it on many occasions. I've said it to many people, and I'm sure Matt can back me up that I've said this on many occasions. I said, if Taker ever loses the streak, I'm probably done. And the problem is that when the streak ended, the guy that ended it was already one of my favorites ever anyways. So I was like, well, now I'm in a fucking conundrum. And it was also the one time in human history, as far as wrestling kayfabe universe is concerned, that it was plausible that I thought The Undertaker could lose because it's against the guy that, oh yeah, he kicked the shit out of Randy Couture and was UFC heavyweight champion at one point. Yeah, this makes sense. But Paul Heyman had to go out the next night and sell it.
Yep.
And he did.
Oh, absolutely.
He sold it. Yeah. He sold it to everybody where everybody was in a state of shock and everybody was upset. Everybody was depressed. It was a dark. I remember it was a dark week or two after that. It was just like, I can't believe they fucking did it. Like there was still, it was one of those moments where you just felt like, I don't know how long it's going to take me to kind of get over this. And because it's something you never thought you would, number one, ever see end. And number two, it's a fucking streak. And, yeah, it's like, oh, God, 20 0, 21 0. And then all of a sudden it's like, holy shit, it's gone. That whole buildup, everything, the last 20 years, gone. It's gone now. And you had to be able to sell that to the audience. You had to be able to sell that to somebody that has been watching for 30 plus years. You had to be able to sell that to people that were watching maybe 3 months. And he was able to do that. And it was, again, one of those moments where I was just like, holy, like, he does it again. Like, he sold me. Yeah. He sold me on it. Yeah. But that's the brilliance of Paul Heyman. Very well deserved. I still say that his part of the ceremony, do it at the 2300, because that visual will be fantastic. Hat guy, like have hat guys still. God, if the old crew is still available for everybody shows up, like the one hippie dude that looked like a Mick Foley if he was anorexic. Like, I think I think everybody catches my drift with all the old characters that were at the ECW arena, but hat guy especially, and some of the talent. I don't know who you can get. Like if you can get Taz to come out and because of his contract with AEW, so, but who knows?
I mean, hey, listen, they inducted Billy Gunn with DX, so you never know. You never know.
That's true. They could have cut a deal if they were going to do the thing for the Sting footage, which everybody was yelling at WWE about, like, how can they make how can they not let Sting footage out? And it's just like, well, AEW never asked them for one, you moron.
Yeah, seriously. I just that one to me was always stupid. But
Like, they're getting mad about it. And I'm just like, well, they never asked.
But I think that's a good segue because literally we could talk about Heyman all night. I feel like.
Yes, we
But
could.
we could definitely segue right there to Sting himself, the icon who had his retirement match this past weekend at Revolution. Just, what a career, man! Just what a goddamn career! Like you could literally start anywhere on this slide, and you wouldn't be wrong to do so. So I pulled it earlier. There's pictures of Sting throughout the years. There's Surfer Sting, Grow Sting, Joker Sting, NWO Sting, NWO Wolfpack Sting, which one of his sons played at over the weekend. Obviously, you have just so many versions of this great character that he has played throughout the years, and to think about his career in NWA slash WCW, in TNA. I wish I could say WWE, but I mean, he was there for a little bit, and then obviously over to AEW. Just what a career, man! Like when you think of Sting, what is your initial thought? Because I know a lot of people, especially older than us and younger than us, are going to have different opinions on this, but what's your first opinion or first thought that pops into your head when it comes to Sting?
It's tough. It's tough to kind of put words to it, only because of the fact that I said in an article this week, and some people were questioning about it in the article. They're just like, how could you say that he was like underrated and underappreciated? The reason I said that is because of the fact that Sting he's been a star, but he's never been, I felt like, the star of a company. Even when he was world champion of WCW in '90, I felt like that. Well, Flair's still there, or they're going to put Luger in some position. You know, it was always somebody else that was kind of ahead of him. When WCW was in the mid '90s, Hulk Hogan was ahead of him. There was always this, and some could argue he was at third at some times because of like Macho Man, or fourth because they brought in Bret Hart, and then the outs. It's so he lost his position, I feel like, at times. But I go back to '97 when he went through this transformation with the Crow, and he started coming down from the rafters. He started going up against the NWO when the NWO had literally just been, for the last year, just kicking the shit out of WCW every single week. And there was one guy with a bat going up against this whole organization. That uncensored '97 ending was one of the most spectacular in WCW's history.
Yep.
When he came down after WCW had lost again to the NWO, and he kicked the shit out of everybody, and then he points right at Hogan. Hogan gets in the ring, and they close. It goes dark, and he's got Hogan, and he drops him. Place was going fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And that's the Sting that I remember. I remember the Sting of the loyalist, the guy that was going to carry the load for the company. That it was almost like he was a franchise. They call him the franchise of WCW, and that was because of the fact that he was there till the end. He stuck around with Impact TNA for as long as he possibly could. You know, he finally goes to WWE, and that wasn't what he wanted it to be. I don't think the company felt the same way, I'm sure, at certain points. It wasn't what they wanted either. AEW starts up, and I'll be 100% honest. Tony Khan has done very few things 100% right. He's done some things that have been very, very good. I'll be the first one to admit it. He's made some good decisions. His booking of Sting was tremendous. And I know there's...
Is that it? No, I don't want to cut you off, but I mean, I just want to ask the question now because I know that it's pertinent to that statement. But do you feel that's reflective of Sting or Tony Khan or just them working together? Because I don't necessarily believe that's just Tony Khan.
Well, he wanted to lose the match to the Bucks.
That is true.
He chose the Bucks as his opponent. And I remember talking with a buddy of mine about it, and he was just like, "Well, it was a spot fest, the match." I'm like, 64 fucking years old. You expect him to fucking go out there like Carl Gotch and Lou Fez?
Yeah, seriously.
I'm like, it's gonna be they're gonna stretch each other for 60 minutes. I'm like, it ain't happening. I'm like, he's gonna go out there. He's gonna go up against guys that he knows he's gonna feel comfortable with. If he feels comfortable with the Bucks are good enough. And you can't put him up against like a Powerhouse Hobbs or like a Wardlow. You have to do it against guys that they can bounce around for him. They can make him look like Superman, which is at certain points in that match. The fact is that, and I know that some might get angry about it because they'll be like, well, he's no selling moves and all that stuff. He did that for years in WCW. I understand people are like, well, yeah, but he's older. When he's the character of Sting, all bets are off. It's like that's his persona. People still pop when he sells moves and he does the pounding of the chest and screams. Like, people get pumped up for it. Fuck, if I was in the crowd, I'd probably do the same exact thing. I don't get mad at it. I don't get pissed off about it and neither does the people that he works with, because they're just like, fuck, I'm working with like fucking Sting, for Christ's sake. Here's a scary statistic, and I just thought about that earlier. I was doing the dishes, and it just came to my head. It popped in there. So it just popped right in there. What did you do, Ray? It's a staple.
It's so funny. I actually was watching it the other day. I just out of nowhere, I was on YouTube. I was actually listening to one of our shows, ironically enough, and free videos popped up, and there was Ghostbusters. I was like, oh, okay. I guess I'll watch Ghostbusters for free on YouTube. Why the hell not? So I'm working and watching the Ghostbusters. But in relation to Sting, man, I think I am kind of right there with you with 97 when he comes down to that pay-per-view after WCW has lost like so much at this point, and he just has that face-off with Hogan. And I just remember so many other events where he'd come down, he'd fight NWO, or he'd come down and get between NWO and a WCW star, wrestler, whatever, and just point the bat at Hogan. And Hogan losing his mind every time it would happen was not any less funny to me. The only gripe I had with that whole thing was the build to what we actually got was not great.
No.
And it was very long, obviously, the build itself.
Well, I mean, it depends who you ask, that whole situation. But that's also why I feel like that
true.
him going out as champion with AEW, it's like, after something like that happening to you, which that's why I feel like you've always gotten the shaft, because it's like, that should have been his. That moment should have been, no one's going to fuck this up. You're going to go over clean, and it's going to be good, and we're going to make a lot of money. So, brace for yourself.
I agree with everything you just said. I agree with he should have gone out on top. I just disagree that it should have been for the tag titles. That's
fair.
Only gripe, and that's not on him.
That's fair. But I don't know.
The thing is, now you have to vacate the titles.
Yeah,
It's
but
just it's so stupid. It's lazy.
it's stupid. It's lazy booking.
Yep, exactly.
As my friend James E would say, motherfucker.
Motherfucker.
The
But
goddamn young cocks.
oh my
They
god.
think that they can beat Sting. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I 100% agree in the context of what we were talking about before with the fact that he should have gone over, he should have won.
Yes.
This is not about putting over younger talent. This is about ending a nearly 40-year career in professional wrestling, which is relatively unheard of, let's be realistic for a second.
It is.
So having him go out on top, I 100% agree with that. If this is like a tag team that's been together for like 2 years, they've done so much already and stuff like that, that's one thing. But not on top of a 40-year career, even still at that point. And I
Right.
say 40 years because we can just round up, whatever.
Right.
And at the end of the day, there's so many aspects to Sting and his character work and just all of it that I, growing up, appreciated. We've talked about it on the show. We've talked about it on other shows where Dan and I both grew up switching between Raw and Nitro all the time. And one of those characters that you would tune in to see, like a Steve Austin, like a Hulk Hogan, or a Hollywood Hogan, or a Shawn Michaels, or an Undertaker, was Sting. Sting was always there, always consistent, and as Dan said, was a company guy for WCW, NWA. When he was in TNA, same thing. And they could always rely on him. And I feel like, yes, he's been world champion in multiple promotions, but it's like, this guy could have been like a 50-time champion, realistically. Like he just could have, but he was willing to do what he had done, do jobs and everything else for this business. And I cannot take that away from him at all. And he's had great feuds with top talents in the past. And I'm just really happy with his career. I'm kind of glad that some other talent, like an Adam Copeland, got to work with him despite it being in AEW. But that's not to take away anything from just this phenomenal career that he had. And looking at the character throughout the years, we kind of talked about this a little bit with The Undertaker, too, which, ironically enough, is one of those matches that we never unfortunately had, was Sting and The Undertaker. Because that would have been magic.
That's on him. And that
I agree.
Needs to,
I agree.
That needs to be stated by people. And I understand what he said recently and said, oh, they dangled that carrot in front of me, but it was never going to happen. Well, look, you had a 10-year window, and I've gone over this, and I've done the math myself, trust me, and I've talked with people about this. It could have happened between 2002 and 2011. He had a decade. He had a 10-year window that this could have fucking happened, where both guys would be in the position physically to be able to pull it off. Because by the time that he went to WWE, Taker was in no position to be able to carry a match like that. They had to give it to Triple H the way they did. And I know people get pissy of like, well, you shouldn't have gone over. Look, I'm not going to argue the booking decision that night. I mean, because I could see it both ways. Let's be honest. I could see it both ways. Should Sting probably have gone over? Yeah, probably.
Probably.
But he aged himself out. And it just, yeah. It just was bad timing, I think, on everybody's part. But mostly his. I mean, he could have went 5 years earlier. He could have went 10 years earlier. He could have went right after WCW went under. And I know he'll argue, well, like the way they treated like Booker T at the end of it, I wouldn't have liked how I got treated. Look, Booker T was able to make an impact in that company. Multiple-time tag team champion, multiple-time United States champion, multiple-time world champion. Well, actually, I think he won it once. But he still was able to break the glass ceiling in WWE after his time in WCW, which, yeah, you may have had to do some jobs. You probably would have had to lose to Triple H a little earlier in your career than when you thought of, because during that reign of terror, that let's look at that championship reign that he had, that world heavyweight title reign, that first one that he had,
Yeah.
in September of 2002 to whatever it was in 2003. First opponent, Rob Van Dam, so the top guy of ECW. Then he goes up against Scott Steiner,
Yep.
top guy for WCW, beats him. Booker T at WrestleMania, beats him. Kevin Nash, who was in WCW, trying to put them under with the NWO, beats him.
Yeah.
Goldberg beats him. He beat him. SummerSlam 2003 in that famous Elimination Chamber. The match still makes me laugh to this day. Just because of how many people are pissed off about that match. They're just like, he was in the match for 2 minutes. He hit him with the goddamn sledgehammer. And that's it. What the hell? Some people do not like Goldberg in this chat. So they just don't. They don't like Goldberg on the show. It's either me, or it's both of us, or it's Mac. Like, you could go with A, B, or C on that one. Or it could be C. They both don't like him. Or neither of the above. That also could be D.
I think it's the person that's been silent for over a minute that just wants to engage this fucking conversation any further because we're talking about fucking Goldberg. Jesus Christ.
Here's something interesting, right? So, Sting and the Ultimate Warrior were a tag team, the Blade Runners, in Mid-South.
Yep.
And then they went their separate ways. So, Sting wrestled 10 years longer than the Ultimate Warrior was alive.
Oh my God. I mean, you're not wrong, obviously, but that's an odd statistic to
It's an
bring up.
odd statistic, but it's just it shows you the longevity of his career, of the fact that he went 10 years longer than his tag team partner, and they were around the same age. Was alive. It's a kind of a morbid thought, but it was something I thought of earlier because I'm just like, wait, when did Warrior? Oh God, that was 10 years ago. My God. And yeah. I mean, and think about this. Their story is so interesting because here they are, this tag team. It's a Road Warrior ripoff, working in Mid-South. And then they go their separate ways, and both of them are world champions by 1990. Warrior beat Hogan at WrestleMania 6, and then Great American Bash 90, he beats Flair. So both of them end 1990 as world champions of WCW and WWF. But both then lose the titles respectively in 1990, in January of 91, to Flair and Sergeant Slaughter. So,
I mean, I don't know. The Flair at least makes sense.
well, the Sergeant Slaughter loss was all because of the Iraq War.
Oh, I know why.
We're going to go with that storyline.
Yeah, I know why. It's just it just cracks me up that that's the reasoning behind it. But oh man, Sting had just such a great career. If you go just from the early days, we had the surfer paint, whatever you want to call it. That whole, mentality he had of being that top face or trying to be the top face and having that just attitude that he had, and then going into what I think a lot of people dubbed Crow Sting. That whole renegade kind of situation he had with the NWO, then joining NWO or NWO Wolfpack. Which
God, that
It's
didn't
like-
make any fucking sense.
I was like, what is going on? It never made sense, especially when the character
That happened in
was-
Providence too, which I found hilarious.
that is even funnier.
Yeah.
But having that happen just really didn't make sense. And then, going to TNA, going to WWE for a little bit, and then obviously with AEW. And the thing about part of that is the Joker staying.
I love
It just cracked me up. And, like, you can tell who's playing the character off of Heath Ledger, basically, but it was just so funny watching it. Because, like, you used to have, like I said, the Surfer staying in the early 90s, or, up until the early 90s, I should say. And then you had Crow Sting for so long, you forgot he could be fucking funny.
Yes.
They were like, whoa, this dude's awesome. And then going into the room with, like, him and Bischoff and Hogan and TNA, and he's like, what was the bird thing or what the fuck was going on? Like, I don't even remember. Jarrett's there, and, like, just, you better watch yourself, Stinger! Like,
How you like my tie? Oh, you're crazy. Thank you very much, Karen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh my god. It was great work, honestly, because, like I said, you had Crow Sting for such a long time, you forgot Sting could be fucking funny. And then to have this new character or new version of himself where you could tell he's more, like, at home and more comfortable and not, like, worrying so much about, like, the mystique of the character anymore. Kind of like Undertaker with American Badass. It just always cracked me up. Always cracked me up.
There was a video online for years where they had it was when he just started to become Joker Sting, or like when he just finally turned. He had a confrontation with Hogan backstage, and somebody put the music from the music for Joker from The Dark Knight under, like, as his voice started going up and he started to act more like Joker, the music started to cue up longer. It made me laugh every time because it was that was interesting how he was able to take that character and be able to turn it into a wrestling sense, and also again change another part of that character, because him and Taker, again, they never had like the same look, or they kept it. They always had a change in their look at certain points, either with the face paint or something that he would wear, or a logo, or his hair. He was always keen of doing that. Yeah, even with the Sergeant Pepper jackets now, he's kind of brought those back, because those were the big things he used to do in the '90s. But then I guess in the last like 10 or 15 years, he went from like the black trench coat to have like the trench coat that's with the sequins and the red, like the Sergeant Pepper jackets, which is just hilarious to me. That's kind of how his tenure in AEW ran, because the jackets seem to be more elaborate. Kind of reminds me of Edge a little bit with how he had his coats for a long time.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too, especially like the one that he has on the pentagraph I have in the middle of the screen, where it's like that same kind of general style. And it definitely reminded me of Edge, especially right before you said it too. I was like, kind of looks like an Edge jacket, yeah.
It does. But I wish him happy in his retirement. The argument can be made that he could have went to WWE at a younger point and made a lot more money. I made some comments and said that, he could have taken the risk, but when you're also making enough money and you're comfortable, I don't blame him. I mean, I remember the Scott Hall reference of just like Sting money, like $750,000 a year, and he's working 125 days. That's a good schedule, especially back then, because if you were going to work for WWE, you're going to be working 320 dates a year. So, and maybe make maybe make half that money on your downside. So, yeah, I don't blame him for sticking with WCW for as long as he did. I don't blame him for going to certain companies where he could write his own ticket and schedule. He earned that right.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Why do you want to work house shows all the time? I get it. I get it completely.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure he could have had a specific contract with them regardless, even before, he ended up actually going there. And especially being older, he would want that. And, I get it. It's a lot of travel, especially for the house shows when you're doing them. But at the same token, like I said, if he did one TV show a week and then maybe one house show a week, it's 2 days a week. I mean, that's not bad.
Right.
And they'd probably allow for it. Let's be real. And, I know what people say about Cody's current schedule and stuff like that, but Cody's, 37, 38?
Yep.
Way different versus, being in your early to mid 50s at that point, if not 60s now. It's just different.
I think he's 64 now.
He is 64 now, yeah.
Yeah, it's remarkable. And it's commendable. And hopefully now with him being retired, Ric Flair will be off to AEW television. And Flair can go back to doing
Thank God! I don't want to be a dick, but he's just not looked good on AEW television.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. It's not being a dick. It's being truthful.
No, it is. When he went for
needs
the eye poke and everything, I think it was 2-3 weeks ago at this point. I don't remember when it was exactly, but
yeah,
he went for the eye poke on one of the Jackson brothers, and I don't even think he got him in the face, honestly. I think he got him in the side of the head. And then he tried to punch the other Jackson brother, and I was just like, what are you doing, dude? And then they come in and do the worst low blow on Ric Flair. During the match, I believe it was this past weekend, he tries to get involved, and they together super kicked him, and I was just like, wow, that just looked awful. Then Ricky the Dragon Steamboat gets on the apron, and they do one to him too. And I think Ricky the Dragon Steamboat took that a little bit better than Rick did, which is not saying much, but he has not looked good. And it's just, dude, I love you. Stop trying to take bumps. Just stop. Please stop.
Yeah, it's just, please stop. It's hard. It's hard to watch. It's like, why the fuck are you doing this, Rick?
I mean, dude, why? Even watching the last match was hard. Not his, but Ric Flair's themselves, I should say.
Yeah. No, I didn't even. I was not going to pay money to fucking watch.
Oh, I didn't pay money, but I saw the highlights of it.
Yeah. Well, I saw. Yeah, the highlights were tough to watch. I mean, and I'll say this with Sting, the match that he had an amazing match with those guys. It was great.
Yeah.
Darby Allin's a fucking idiot, but that's besides the point.
All right. Yeah.
I like Darby. But why are you jumping through a plain glass window? Why are you doing this?
It's real glass.
Cry me a river.
Live.
Man. You just see the back, and it's just all the blood's coming out. You're just like, oh, for Christ's sake, what the hell are you doing? Some poor woman gets hit with a shard of glass. Oh, we can't get, you can't sue us. Sorry.
Which is complete and utter BS. I get it from a perspective of you're in the first row and shit happens, but we're not talking a baseball game. We're talking a freaking wrestling show.
Exactly.
And yeah, you could expect something, right? But not freaking plate glass getting into your face.
No.
Come on. At some point, I don't know what it says on those tickets for AEW because, I don't buy them even when they're free with a burger and fries. But, I mean, it's just, does it say, we waive all liability of, plate glass windows being shattered in front of you? Come on.
That's a reason why people aren't watching your product, because they don't want to see that shit. Like, I just don't. It's part of the reason why that you just paid all this money for this newer talent, and your show last night drew under 800K, which usually your threshold is above like 825, 830. Occasionally it goes between 825 and 800. But you're in that solid base. Now it's below 7, now it's like 775. And you just paid Will Ospreay $5 million a year, and 100,000 people left when Will Ospreay's match came on. And you just brought Okada in. You're paying Okada now $4.5 million a year. You just brought Sasha Banks in. She's going to be debuting supposedly next week. Oh, sorry, Mercedes Moné. You brought Mercedes Moné in, and she's supposedly going to be making $5 million. So you brought these three guys in. Well, these two gentlemen and this one girl for about $15 million. How do you expect you're going to make this money back on any of these? You're not. You're not. They're not going to bring you $15 million in revenue this year. Your roster will, but not those three people alone. And you, the earlier you realize that, the better, because there's going to be moments now where you're just going to be like, well, I mean, am I going to be able to get the ratings up? And how am I going to do that? Why aren't they taking Ospreay seriously? He's one of the best ever. Why are they not taking Okada seriously? He's one of the best ever. Why are they taking Mercedes seriously? Because she's considered one of the best ever.
Good
match
cover.
Quality.
Good cover. I saw the pain. I saw the pain in your face, and I heard it in your voice.
Match quality will get you Meltzer to like your product.
Oh God!
But it will not. It will not get you the mass audience to watch it. Like, it just won't. Like, it just won't. And I'm not shitting on Dave. I'm just saying, like, it's just, you're catering to a certain audience. And I'm sure Meltzer's had to kind of talk differently, because he's been pretty harsh on Sting throughout his career. I don't know if you put him in the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame yet, but he always kind of talked down to Sting in his career. Is the fact that he wasn't considered a draw on WCW and wasn't a draw on Impact and TNA.
Which is utter garbage, by the way.
It is garbage. I mean, it is, because there was a time where he was the hottest babyface that they had in pro wrestling, not just WCW, but in pro wrestling. And the early 90s, I loved Surfer Sting. Thought he was the man. So I've always been a Sting guy, so it's never been something that I've sat here and I've been like, I've never not liked Sting. Am I annoyed with what he has said recently of just like, well, they never offered it to me, I never got that match? It's just like, well, you had the opportunity, you could have done it. You had a 10-year window, there could have been done, but you know what? Doesn't matter. Didn't happen. No one's disappointed. It's fucking video games. We can do it there. Like, we don't need to rehash it and go with it. I mean, do I wish it happened? Yeah, I do. But at the same time, it's like, I wish Stone Cold and Hulk Hogan went at it too. It's just one of those things you're just going to put there and be like, well, maybe someday. Never. But you never know.
Yeah. I mean, listen, that's true. And I mean, listen, some people in the media have said about Sting, like, oh, hey, you could still have a match with him and the Taker. And I'm just like,
No, you can't.
No.
Mm-hmm.
And even if that's the case, don't do it anyways.
It's like I don't want to see that anymore. You know, if it happened back then, I would have loved to see it, bar none. But now, no, I don't want that now. And you know, you talk about some of the other feuds he had. You know, like you said, he was the biggest babyface in wrestling for a good chunk of time. Um, and you can make the argument that all of that year, year plus really, when he's fighting the NWO, there's really no bigger babyface in wrestling at that point. You can make the argument for like Stone Cold and stuff when he came up into the main event scene, but you know, at the same token, like I said, this is why we kept switching back. You had guys like an Austin, like an Undertaker, like a Sting, like a Hogan. You had all these guys.
He was voted the most popular wrestler of the year in 1997, and he didn't wrestle one match until December.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It just
like that's the type of. I'm sorry I cut you off.
No, but it's a good point to bring up, and that's exactly why I said it, because you had a point in time where he's the biggest babyface, and he's not even wrestling a match. Just a quick showcase mode, just to kind of get the opening in.
Nobody knew exactly what to expect on March 31st, 1985.
Hey, look, it's Corey Graves.
Would WrestleMania live up to the hype? Would sports entertainment?
And you'll see in this opening package how they're blurred.
Other celebrities from music, film, and sport proved to be a hit with
his face is out. You'd be like, this is getting kind of ridiculous.
That night was taking a leap of faith, knowing that they would sink or swim as the event did.
Oh, they blurred that face out.
That was Billy Martin, I think.
This would be the
so,
most important
just
in the history of WWE.
Was it the owner of the arena in 5 that they blurred out? Is that who you were talking about?
Yes, the person whose name was on the plaza.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because there was also the location of the year before at 4 as well.
Yes.
So that's,
he was.
Yeah.
Yes, they were.
They showed him so much in that. I don't remember 5 as well, but I remember 4. I remember the main event of 5, obviously, but 4 I remember because 4 was the year they had the tournament.
Yes,
and they showed him constantly.
He was holding the belt in the tournament, and he was kind of like they had him with Hogan and Andre.
Yep.
And he was holding the belt in between them. It was a really cool visual, and then especially for that time period.
Of course.
And there are 8x10s actually out there that are signed by all 3 of them. I'm like, wow, that would be kind of cool to get.
Especially
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Like and it's not, because in 1988 this person was pretty cool. Like, let's be quite honest.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely.
But maybe not now.
I would have argued he was semi-popular from before that through like the year 2000.
Yes.
It's just constantly. There's another blur.
Stone Cold Steve Austin, but the Stone Cold Stutter though was fantastic.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's like Austin now could sit there and say, "Well, guess what."
Oh man, yeah.
I got one at least.
Let's go.
What a way to start.
Oh, so you have to do them in order too.
Yep.
I did not know that. Okay. Let's see what the video oh, okay, just the intro. I feel like we should do easy because it's me.
Yeah.
I'll put the subtitles on for shits.
I just do it I do it on easy just to unlock everything.
Yeah, no,
I figured. That's my thing. It's just like, look, I just want to get through it to unlock everything. Plus, it's so immersive.
Oh yeah.
Mean Gene completely blurred out.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know if it's fucking rights fees and shit. Like I don't get that.
I'm just thinking like Mean Gene of all people. Like what?
Great fucking idea that was. Yeah, we're gonna host WrestleMania on a Monday, and it's gonna be from 3 different coasts: New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles.
Listen, it was an idea, but it was not a great
It was
idea.
kind of, yeah, it was an idea, but
Yeah,
it was a bad idea. That was yeah. That was Ember. That was too when they got hooked up with Dick Embersol, so they had a lot of creative ideas then. That, I mean, mind you, Saturday Night's Main Event was revolutionizing wrestling television. So, like, I can't sit there and hate it because it didn't work out.
Vicious attack on the Dragon after the match, taking him out of action. Savage would attempt to duplicate the attack on Steamboat's friend.
But see, they give you a brief history of everything that happened leading into the match.
Fortunately for the Animal, Ricky would make his well-timed return for the save, leading to the rematch between
George Animal Steel, that was a random fucking roster addition. It's like, really?
Which surprises me a little bit, just because I remember him more as like a member of the Oddities, but no other Oddity wrestler there. So it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Would Ricky Steamboat get revenge? These questions would be answered over the next 15 grueling minutes. And when it was over, everyone in attendance and those watching at home knew they had been a part of something special. The two superstars would forever be etched in history following the match, with Ricky Steamboat finally putting an end to the Macho Man's historic reign.
Was that Hebner?
Yes. I believe Dave. Because Earl debuted at the main event a year later for the Hogan screw job. Your actions will, depending on what actions that they ask you to do, it will trigger a cutscene at a certain point.
Yeah, you
And
did
then-
mention that.
Yeah. And there's 2 matches from 3. And I guess you could. It doesn't take a scientist to know what number 2 is going to be after this one. There's 2 from 3, 2 from 5, 1 from 6, 1 from 8. 10, 13. Macho Man, the original Mr. WrestleMania, if you want my honest opinion.
Yeah.
How many years in a row did he have the match of the year? Or like in a small like capsule. It's like, let's see, WrestleMania 5, best match of the card. WrestleMania 3, best match of the card. 7, best match of the card. 8, best match of the card, arguably.
Yeah. I would definitely agree with that, to be 100% honest with you, because there were some that I just look back on and I'm like, he had the better match of the cards.
Well, I mean, he got the best match out of Hogan at 5, and he got the best match out of Warrior at 7. And then 3, I mean, 3 stood the test of time. That was the highest rated match in WWE history for like 30 years. Some ridiculous statistic. Before Hogan and Michaels kind of took that from the WrestleMania 25. The arenas look great.
Yeah, they do.
It's just, they set them up perfectly. The lighting is perfect.
What? Ah,
'Cause I'm always trying to find holes for Mr. Continuity over here.
shit.
But I'm the Macho Man Randy Savage.
Macho
King.
No way.
It was a long distance,
It
too.
was. But hey, I got my reversal out of it, so.
You're a dead man, Ramsey.
You're a dead man, Ramsey.
I think Steamboat wrestled in those same tights against Flair at the Raging Cajun in 1989. I remember wearing him. He was wearing all white that night too. Like, I don't remember him wearing all white like that, the long tights, ever. Like, except that night and then this night, of course. I never saw him wear them again. It was always like red, black, or green. Green mostly.
Yeah. I remember the green tights. I definitely remember the white tights. But, yeah, I don't remember any of the ones, obviously. Okay, George, just get the fuck out of the way.
I don't give a shit. I don't want to see her. Fuck you.
Ooh, yeah.
Ooh yeah, dig it. George Steele is just like on the outside. What are you fucking doing? Jesus. How is that a promo? Just goes over and eats a turnbuckle. The public would just be like, I don't know if we want this character. Why do we have to apologize for George Steele? Really? You can't just be a crazy person that just eats it. Well, you can't call people. Shut up. Guy's an animal. He's eating foam.
Just eating foam. Get Watchmen trapped in the southeast corner facing you and hit a heavy attack.
I think the southeast is the bottom right.
I would hope so, because otherwise...
Yes.
Come on, ref!
Fucking Hefner, get out of the way. Piece of shit. You shouldn't have fucked Brett over, you fucking asshole. Oh, suplex, oh.
Yeah. Oh, whoop-de-doo. Oh, fuck you, Randy.
I don't see anybody going for a super kick. This match is unrealistic. Fuck this match.
Oh,
This match
God,
is bullshit. I hate this match
This is
so much.
bullshit.
Fuck this match. There's no super kicks. Where the fuck is it? Where's the Code Reds?
Oh, my God.
Where's the Canadian Destroyers?
Oh, my God, no.
Where's
Not
the
after that.
Insiguris?
All right, Ricky.
You can get up now.
Get up, Ricky. Put him in a body bag, Ricky. Yeah. Put him in a body bag.
I thought Randy just fucking stands there too. Like and that's like the longest count ever between 1 and 2.
Referee's just like,
I didn't even know I could do that. That's cool. Oh, I should count. Yeah, get him in the ring. Get him in the ring, Randy. Just fucking sit there like fucking bonehead. I don't know if it's like me, if it's the controller, if it's the game. Are we really gonna get double counted out right now? Randy, what the fuck? Alright, so at least I think it's cool they at least give you the objectives even if you fail. And you still apparently get rewards. I like the result. You learned why the Macho Man truly is the cream of the crop. Try again, you'll get him next time. Even though we both get counted out. Fuck. Alright, so it looks like I unlocked George the Animal Steel, Macho Man Randy Savage, Miss Elizabeth, and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. So I got 3 objectives, it looks like. Quick striking leg combo, taunts the Macho Man, and also to dodge, reverse, block, or break 3 of the Macho Man's attacks in the ring. These are the ones we missed because apparently me or the controller suck. I don't know which. So, but yeah, that's at least a quick little synopsis of the first time playing a wrestling game in like however many years. Oh man. Do you have anything to close on? Because I just looked at the time and I was like, oh wow, that's a thing.
yeah, I guess so. No, I think I'm tapped out tonight.
Tapped out.
Yeah, no, it's been a long week. So
It really has. It really has.
It feels like Sunday, but it's actually Thursday, so that's why I'm like, what the fuck? Like,
It really, you know what, man? This week has been long, and I feel like just, you know, like all the stuff that happened in wrestling this week, all the stuff happening, you know, just in regular everyday life this week has made it a long week, and I'm just like, wow, it's only Thursday right now when we're recording this, obviously, and I'm just like, oh my god. But yeah, I'll be, my closing thought will just be to kind of reiterate what we talked about with the road to WrestleMania, kind of see what the answer is from Cody and Seth. Obviously, The Rock should be in attendance from everything we've heard from The Rock himself, from WWE, that he's going to be there pretty much every SmackDown leading up to WrestleMania. So basically every SmackDown for the month of March.
Right.
No news if Roman Reigns is going to be there. I'd be shocked otherwise if he wasn't, though, to be honest, because it just seems like the time to really pick up the story, as it were. We'll have to see how some of the other stuff goes down, too, with, you know, Bianca. With Bayley and Dakota Kai, and with others, obviously, as well. AJ and LA Knight's another story to kind of look at, too. Potential for this tag team match on night 1, though, to really kind of be the focus moving forward, and not even just Cody's match with Roman on night 2. But yeah, do you want to give out your plugs real quick before we sign off?
Yeah, absolutely. Tomorrow on Pro Wrestling World Talks, I teased something last week that I was going to happen. Well, it happened. Last night I had the pleasure of interviewing the current XPW Women's Champion, Mickey Knuckles. She's been featured on many of promotions. Worked in TNA also at one point. My fiance actually asked the question, because she was featured at one point on Tosh.0 when she broke her leg.
Oh, no
And
shit.
Steph asked the question of, how fucked was your leg? Because what happened was that she broke her leg, and then she started telling people that her leg was fucked. Her leg was fucked. Her leg was fucked. So Steph asked the question, how fucked was your leg? It was a really kind of an emotional interview on some points. She's a warrior, in my opinion, of what she's had to deal with in her life. And the fact, too, that she kind of paved the way as far as women is concerned in pro wrestling of being taken seriously, and had to come up with in a system of wrestling training when there wasn't many women. So you're in there working intergender training almost, and she got her ass kicked. And she talked about that, but she talked about the hard roads that she had to come up with. It's really fascinating listen. It was also fun at points, but also at certain points it was kind of a therapy session, I think, for everybody involved. So be sure to look out for that. That'll be on Spotify, Apple, tomorrow, or depending on when you're listening, of course. But be sure to be sure to look for that Pro Wrestling World Talks. Yeah, and then just stick with the road to WrestleMania. I plan for the next weekend to kind of get more aspirated to 2K a little bit more, as Mack, I'm sure, will be doing the same thing.
Yeah. I don't know
You
what.
gotta stop doing jobs of Dominic Mysterio. It's just, you gotta stop.
Listen. Yeah, that actually is one of my plans, regardless of how tonight obviously went. But I had planned on that anyways. I also I know we don't really talk about my setup or anything, but I have a laptop which I do this on because I like to kind of move around. I typically record in a different location just because it's a little bit easier, it's quieter. Um, and I have a regular desktop PC, which is a little bit more powerful and I'll say updated. The graphics card is a little bit
Right.
more of a recent gen. It's a 3070. This is a 2060. It shouldn't make any difference when it comes to this game. So I don't really forecast any issues regardless. But I might play on that one because I also have a big TV in that same location. So it'll be a little bit easier to kind of get a little bit more immersive with the game, I guess. But overall, yeah, I'm gonna be doing that. Um, and it's funny because I'm thinking to myself right now, like, what am I doing tomorrow at work? I might just play a little bit during work. And just kind of go about it that way. And honestly, if I don't, I will probably, like I said, I have that desktop upstairs that I could use for gaming, which I typically do. So what I might do is just put SmackDown on one monitor and have the TV for the game instead, something like that. Kind of reverse it up a little bit.
Right.
And if that doesn't happen, my plan is Saturday. I should have some downtime where I will definitely be playing this for sure. But all in all, yeah, I'm looking forward to SmackDown, see kind of what the answer is going to be, what segment they pull out of that. Potential storylines are going to obviously, I feel like, continue. I really feel that, we didn't really talk about it too much, and I'm not going to spend too much time on it for final thoughts and closings, but Jimmy and Jay is still definitely going to happen. They could add that to the match, which I doubt. I think they'll stick with a generic.
Give me a one-on-one thing.
Yeah, I think they'll keep that alone, which means Solo needs something else to do. So I'll be interested to see maybe what happens with that, if anything. But yeah, I'm excited for the road to WrestleMania. I'm excited to spend more time with 2K24 over the weekend and stuff. And aside from that, I will continue the sign offs and just say follow us on Instagram, on X/Twitter, on Facebook. It's Shoot Show 1. You can also follow where we broadcast, Diamond Broadcasting Productions. Same thing. YouTube, obviously, is where we post the shows. We hope to have more shows on this channel at some point. But also, you could follow that on X and Twitter, or X Twitter, or whatever, Facebook and Instagram. There's the Shoot Show 1 at gmail.com, Diamond Podcasting Productions at gmail.com. So you could definitely hit us up there. Tell us your thoughts of not only the game, but the current road to WrestleMania and anything else that we've kind of been talking about with the 2024 inductees to the Hall of Fame and also the career of Sting. So many great memories there. We kind of think about those last two topics that we kind of touched on tonight. But other than that, please like, subscribe, share, do all the things so we can continue to do this for you guys, especially if you enjoy the show. We don't look at the analytics too often, but we can definitely see we got a lot of views lately. If those turned into subs, we'd be well on our way to kind of getting a little bit more out there, getting more word of mouth out there, and getting more eyes on the show.
Like and subscribe.
Yep, definitely
Like it should be.
subscribe, and share. But go ahead,
John Lovitz from The Critic. Buy my book. Buy my book. Buy my book. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.
I missed that show. I really
do
did.
too.
It was so underrated. It was so
I
great.
loved it. It's so great. It's so fantastic.
It really is. But for Diamond Podcasting Productions and for The Shoot, that's Dan. I'm Mack, and we will catch you next time. Hope you have a great evening, day, night, whatever it is that you're watching this. Bye!
Bye.